Chapter 41:11. Being ugly was also a sin. You. Han Xia gritted his teeth. Then, he could no longer hold back and spat out a mouthful of blood 5 meters away. I've prepared so much, but it was all for naught. It's all because of you. He glared at Lin Ling angrily. Finally, he could no longer hide his identity. He never expected that when the treasure was right in front of him, he would be mistaken for a spy because of his ugliness. It seemed that being ugly was also a sin. Anyway, you're a spy. Everyone, capture him. Lin Ling ignored Han Xia's anger and spoke slowly. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. All the people in white pounced on Han Xia. Han Xia also knew that he had been completely exposed, so he erupted with all his strength. Moreover, he glared at Lin Ling angrily. However, he did not dare to attack Lin Ling because he guessed that with Lin Ling's high status, Lin Ling's background would definitely not be small. Therefore, he vented his anger on Longyang and the rest. Protect them. However, just as he looked over, Lin Ling said indifferently. Fuck. Han Xia was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. They were all spies, but Longyang and the rest were protected while he was hunted down. It was too unfair. Longyang and the rest laughed at his misfortune. Little South stuck her tongue out at Han Xia with a cheeky look. They're trial challengers. Han Xia could not get close to Longyang and the rest, so he could only retreat as he fought. However, Lin Ling sneered and ignored his words. He almost wanted to tell Han Xia that he was a trial challenger too. He believed that if he said that, he would definitely anger the other party to death. Boom boom boom. Han Xia was fighting against too many Spirit Nation experts at once, so he had no choice but to use his trump card. His divine embryo was also revealed. At this moment, thunderbolts shot out from his body, causing a pair of black wings to appear on his back. His face also quietly changed. Sharp teeth flew out from his mouth, making him look extremely ferocious and ugly. Moreover, a pair of weapons appeared in his hands. It was a lightning hammer and a lightning nail. The lightning hammer struck the lightning nail, and lightning bolts blasted out, instantly killing many of the Spirit Kingdom's experts. Of course, this was the land of treasures. There were many Spirit Nation experts, and many of them had heard the news. Then, they swarmed toward Han Xia, and Han Xia was unable to gain any advantage. Lin Ling, look! At this time, the giant ghost hidden in Lin Ling's clothes whispered. Following the giant ghost's words, Lin Ling's pupils suddenly trembled. This was because he saw a fist-sized giant ghost beside Han Xia. This giant ghost was green and looked exactly the same as Lin Ling's giant ghost. It's also an evil ghost? Lin Ling said in shock. That's right, but it's different from mine. Its aura is very evil. The giant ghost nodded. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Could it be that Han Xia obtained it from the 8 gods' heavenly palace? After the giant ghost beside Han Xia appeared, it seemed to whisper a few words to Han Xia, causing Han Xia to look at Lin Ling. They had obviously noticed the giant ghost beside Lin Ling. Unfortunately, there were too many Spirit Nation experts around, and they were all chasing after Han Xia. Han Xia did not have the time to investigate. What a powerful spy. Everyone, you must kill him. If you're killed by him, the Spirit Nation will resurrect you. At that time, your strength will greatly increase. On the contrary, Lin Ling said this timely because he realized that Han Xia's strength was terrifying. This made him very clear that if the other party wanted to go all out, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill everyone here. However, he was afraid of the Spirit Nation and did not dare to do so. Therefore, Han Xia was retreating as he fled. The Lord has ordered us to kill the spy with all our might. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the Spirit Nation experts roared. Compared to Han Xia, they were much braver because they could be resurrected. In the huge ice palace corridor, the fierce battle continued to erupt, causing Han Xie to retreat further and further. He was almost angered to death. Although he did not know who the Spirit Nation's lord was, he could sense the giant ghost. This made him speculate. Could it be that the other party was also from the 9 states? If that was the case, then he was wrongly accused. Not only was he exposed, but he was also beaten up for nothing. However, as more and more Spirit Nation experts arrived, he did not dare to stay any longer and could only leave this place as soon as possible. Of course, when he left the corridor, he clearly saw Lin Ling leading Longyang and the rest into the ice door. This made him think, could it be that they were the real treasure hunters? This result almost made him dumbfounded. I'll go check on the treasure. In front of the ice door, Lin Ling didn't care about Han Xie. Instead, he looked at the remaining people in white. Yes, Lord. These people trusted Lin Ling even more because Kei Ling was too powerful. She actually found a spy. After we go in, seal the ice door. No one is allowed to enter unless we come out. Lin Ling said sternly and led Longyang and the rest into the door. Yes, Lord. The people in white said solemnly. Then, after Lin Ling and the rest disappeared, they immediately chanted the Spirit Nation's mantra and sealed the door. Thank goodness you're here. We almost let a spy in. That despicable spy must be here for the treasure in the main hall. If he went in, we would have failed to protect the treasure. It would be a great crime. That was close, that was close. Then, they began to whisper. They did not know that they had just chased away the wolves and let in a few fierce tigers. At this moment, Han Xie was running wildly in the Spirit Palace. Behind him, a large number of Spirit Nation experts were chasing after him. Han Xie's speed was very fast. With a leap, he disappeared before the Spirit Palace made of black ice could even shine. The hard mysterious ice on the ground cracked apart wherever he passed. If one were to look carefully, one would find that there were lightning snakes slithering about. All of this showed that he was extremely powerful. Long Ling and the rest are back. Everyone, do your best. Even if we can't catch him, we can't let him go missing. Behind him, the voices of the Spirit Nation experts could be heard. Han Xie was so angry that he almost exploded. This was because he knew what Long Ling was. Previously, he had used Lin Ling's appearance to lure Long Ling and the 9 states' 10 evils away. Now, these experts were back. Run. Now, this was the only thing in his mind. Moreover, when he thought of Longyang and the rest, he was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. This was because he knew that with him as a live target, the Spirit Nation experts would naturally give up on Longyang and the rest and chase after him with all their might. Of course, he also tried to expose Longyang and the rest's identity. Unfortunately, no one believed him. Damn it, the Spirit Nation is a bunch of idiots. Chapter 41:12. Animal Skin Map. How unlucky. Now, Han Xie had no choice but to flee again. Something's not right. Everything seems to be under someone's control. Beside Han Xie, the giant green ghost said with a sinister smile. I think so too, but it's useless to think too much now. It's better to leave as soon as possible. Han Xie nodded and then disappeared on the spot. And in the Spirit Light City, the white-clothed woman brought the 9 prefectures' 10 evils back and found out everything that had happened in the city. Looks like we've been lured away. It was the leader of the ancient demonkin. Someone is using Lin Ling as bait to lure us out. Then, they're using this opportunity to enter Spirit Light City. What a cunning fellow. But fortunately, we came back early. Now, let's pursue him with all our might. I want to see if he has 3 heads and 6 arms. The woman in white coldly nodded and led all the experts in pursuit. Since the fighters were all attracted by Han Xie, Lin Ling, who was in the Spirit Palace, was naturally very safe. When they entered the main hall, they immediately discovered that there were spirit flowers planted on the ice floor of the main hall. Moreover, they were emitting a resplendent spirit light. Looking at these spirit flowers, Lin Ling and the others were stunned. Especially Lin Ling, because he never expected that there would be so many sapphire spiritual flowers. Although this was the first time he had come into contact with the sapphire spiritual flower, he could sense that this spiritual flower contained a power that couldn't be underestimated. I heard that the indigo spiritual flower is a spiritual flower that grows beside the laurel tree. It uses the laurel tree to germinate. Little South said in surprise. What is a laurel tree? Lin Ling asked curiously. I heard that it's a divine tree formed from the eyelashes of some ancient great deity. It's incomparably powerful and possesses supreme might. Little South said. Lin Ling frowned, and a mythical story suddenly appeared in his mind. Could it be the great god Pangu? In the ancient myths of Wuxia, Pangu created heaven and earth. His body transformed into the void and endless mountains and rivers. The breath he exhaled became the wind of the four seasons and the drifting clouds. The sound he made became the rumbling thunder. His eyes turned into the sun and moon, and the laurel tree was formed from Pangu's eyelashes. How do you know Guru Pangu? Hearing Lin Ling's words, Longyang suddenly looked at Lin Ling in shock. She realized that her understanding of Lin Ling was still too little. This was because she had also heard of this rumor. Moreover, she had learned of it in a certain mystic realm. Therefore, she knew that not many people knew about this rumor. How would I know? Lin Ling was stunned. In their country of Wuxia, there seemed to be very few people who didn't know about this mythical story. I know Niwa, Hongjun ancestor, and I know about the primordial age of desolation. Then, Lin Ling laughed. Ah! Little South and Longyang immediately revealed curious expressions. What is the primordial age? Longyang asked subconsciously. She didn't know why, but she was infatuated with curiosity about the ancient great deities. When heaven and earth were first created, the void of the universe was chaotic. An ancient great deity created heaven and earth, forming the void of the universe. An ancient great deity created life, and an ancient great deity spread the great Tao. This is the primordial age. Lin Ling spoke frankly with assurance, scaring Longyang and the others. Little South's eyes were filled with worship. This was because this was the story of the ancient deities. She didn't expect Lin Ling to know about it. In fact, Lin Ling didn't know whether this was true or not. However, he was sure that there were ancient deities in Wuxia. After all, he had seen one. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's hurry up and collect the treasures. I reckon that the experts of Spirit Nation have returned and are currently attracted by that trial taker. At this time, Lin Ling laughed. No wonder you didn't kill him. So you let him go on purpose. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Longyang suddenly came to a realization. Lin Ling immediately looked at her sarcastically. Do I look like someone who's easy to kill? Moreover, do you think I'm his opponent? He's obviously a trial taker who has cultivated for many years. At that time, I was probably still in the rainforest sacred land. Sorry, I think you're that easy to kill. Although I admit that he's very strong, I think that you're not much weaker than him if you go all out. Longyang also said sarcastically to Lin Ling. Lin Ling shrugged and didn't comment. In fact, Lin Ling didn't have the confidence to defeat that trial taker. After all, although he was strong, he wasn't as strong as Sister Zhen. Next, the few of them hurriedly collected the indigo spiritual flowers in the hall. There were a total of 365 flowers, and they were divided equally among the three of them. The indigo spiritual flowers were the essence of the universe. They were left behind during the deities' era and could greatly increase the strength of the deities. With these indigo spiritual flowers, Lin Ling believed that his strength could more than double. For example, the dragon god's talent, the realm-swallowing beast's talent, and so on, he could now enter the ranks of the acquired deities. This trip to Spirit Light City was really not in vain. However, after collecting the spiritual flowers, Lin Ling secretly sighed. This was because the Spirit Nation's foundation was too rich, beyond his expectations. Then, Lin Ling looked around and immediately realized that Long Yang and the rest hadn't left. Instead, they were searching around. This made Lin Ling look around and see that there were some items displayed in the corners of the ice hall. However, on the surface, most of them were useless. Lin Ling, look at the picture on the wall. Suddenly, the giant ghost said softly to Lin Ling. Lin Ling looked over and saw an ancient animal skin picture hanging in the corner. On the picture, there were many scorpions, running neatly in the direction of the sun. However, Lin Ling checked it with his soul power and found that this animal skin picture was the same as the other treasures. It was useless. Do you know what those are? The giant ghost asked after seeing that Lin Ling didn't find anything. Lin Ling immediately shook his head. Do you still remember the scorpion you met under the Kaiyuan River mineral vein prairie? The giant ghost said. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. World scorpion. Yes, it was transformed from the soul of the world scorpion. There are countless souls of the world scorpion inside, so that animal skin picture is extremely powerful. The giant ghost said, didn't I teach you the art of beast taming? You can try using this method to control that animal skin picture. Of course, if you feel that something is wrong, you have to withdraw immediately. Okay. Lin Ling nodded. He knew the art of beast taming, and using this kind of magical power relied on soul power. Soul power was Lin Ling's greatest pride, so he was still confident in controlling this animal skin picture. In front of the animal skin picture, Lin Ling used the art of beast taming and treated the animal skin picture as a divine beast. His soul power had reached an extremely high limit, so it formed a rope and tied up the animal skin picture. Chapter 41:13. Ice Palace's Long Talk. Scorpions were the scariest. Although they rarely provoked others, once they were provoked, their desire for revenge would be extremely strong, and they would even perish together with their opponent. When the resistance came, Lin Ling was secretly shocked. It was as if he was fighting against countless world scorpions at the same time. Of course, the more intense the resistance, the happier Lin Ling was, because if he could subdue a treasure, this treasure would definitely be extraordinary. At this moment, Lin Ling sensed that the cold aura was increasing. It was as if countless world scorpions were pointing their deadly tails at Lin Ling. It's so hard to control them. Lin Ling felt that he was about to control the beast skin map several times, but he was interrupted by the souls of the world scorpions. If this continued, not only would he not be able to control the beast skin map, even escaping would be a problem. Lin Ling, don't control the beast skin map. Instead, control the beast taming technique on each world scorpion. At this moment, the giant ghost's voice floated over. Lin Ling was shocked because he knew that the world scorpions in the beast skin map could be said to be endless. If he could control them all, he did not know how long it would take. Spread out all of your soul power. The giant ghost continued, although it's difficult, you have to familiarize yourself with all of your soul power. After all, although your soul power is huge, your control level is still too low. Controlling soul power. Lin Ling had also studied this field in the past. However, his soul power back then was not as strong as it was now. Now Lin Ling's soul power was 35,000 levels. Lin Ling was clearly aware of this. Therefore, he also attempted to spread out all of his soul power to control the world scorpions in the beast skin map. However, this process seemed simple at first, but when it was actually done, the difficulty was not small. That feeling was like a person who was good at using a sword but suddenly switched to using a saber, causing everything else to be out of place. If I had been able to control my soul power from the very beginning, then it wouldn't have been so difficult. But now that my soul power is so huge, it's really not easy to disperse it. Oh right, I've been covering the evil ghost jellyfish with my soul power, maybe I can try this method. Lin Ling thought. He knew that the most important thing right now was patience. The beast skin diagram released blinding purple light. It was as if realm scorpions were pointing their scorpion tails at Lin Ling and were about to unleash a fatal blow. Even Long Yang and the others in the distance noticed this scene. What's going on with Lin Ling? Little South exclaimed in surprise. Don't worry about him. He should have found a good treasure. It's just that it's a little difficult to get that treasure. Long Yang shook her head, her eyes filled with envy. Judging from the aura of the beast skin diagram, she estimated that the power of that treasure could affect any martial god realm cultivator. Let's continue to look for treasures. Long Yang was not to be outdone. She also began to look for treasures. Time passed by just like that. Lin Ling gradually began to familiarize himself with that method. He borrowed the method from the evil ghost jellyfish, just like how he controlled the evil ghost jellyfish. Therefore, the speed of his control was very slow at first. After familiarizing himself with it, he gradually sped up. Little South, hurry up. We've stayed here for too long. Those experts will come at any time. Okay. Long Yang was still searching for treasures. But it could be seen that she had gained a lot. But she also reminded Little South. In fact, she was reminding Lin Ling more. While Lin Ling was constantly controlling the beast skin diagram, in another hall of the Spirit Palace, more than a dozen figures were sitting there. Judging from their appearance, they were not young. Moreover, some of the younger generation were standing behind them. They were drinking tea and chatting wittily. But their every move carried the calmness and confidence of a deity. The experts who came to Spiritual Light City this time are not as powerful as before. Yes. After a while, a middle-aged man picked up a teacup and blew on the hot air in the teacup. He smiled faintly. Yes, last time, we recruited Lu Xian from the Sky Sword Academy. The harvest was good. He's an expert ranked 51st on the Stairway to Heaven on the Divine List. Last time, we recruited Sky Eclipse City's City Lord, E-Garden's expert Wu Yu, Yuan Chaoan, Miaoshan College's Zhang Wuji, Painting Mountain Fairy, and other experts. These experts are all at the top of the 100 on the heavenly ladder. This time, there aren't many experts. But although there aren't many, it's better than nothing. It's a pity that Duan Wuhan, the 7th prince, and other experts didn't come here. Otherwise, if we recruited them, it would be a great harvest. After the middle-aged man, other people who seemed to have an extraordinary temperament also laughed. Behind them, there were many people of the younger generation. They stood there quietly, but their eyes were filled with disdain and fighting spirit. But this time, our spiritual light nation seems to have been exposed. I'm afraid that the 4 old guys have noticed. Suddenly, the middle-aged man put down his teacup and said. The hall became inexplicably silent. What are you afraid of? At most, we'll just fight. Suddenly, a short and stout old man with a full beard shouted angrily. As soon as this voice was heard, the entire spiritual palace shook as if the heavens were angry. This meant that this person's strength had reached the level of a deity. It was extremely terrifying. What will come will come. Even if the 4 great deities know, what can they do? Moreover, His Majesty will be here soon. Why should we be afraid of them? The middle-aged man from the beginning was still as calm as ever. Lord Ning, you're right. But Lord, there's one person who came to Spiritual Light City this time. If we can recruit him, it will definitely be a great harvest. Suddenly, someone said with a faint smile. If Lin Ling was here, he would definitely recognize this person. This was because this person was the city governor of East City. Oh. Everyone looked at the city governor of East City curiously. This was because the Spiritual Light Nation's purpose here was to bring people into the Spiritual Light Nation. Recruiting powerful cultivators was also their primary goal. Millions of years ago, they had brought away a large number of experts from Jiuzhou and continuously strengthened the Spiritual Light Nation. Now, those experts had become existences that could not be underestimated. However, they had yet to come to Jiuzhou. The ones who came were also experts with high status and authority. Now, they wanted to recruit more experts from Jojo. After all, Jojo had changed after millions of years. There were as many experts as there were clouds. I wonder what kind of expert he is. Lord Ning looked at the city governor of Yi City and smiled. His name is Lin Ling. He's currently a second-level martial god. The city governor of Yi City immediately smiled. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone frowned. This level of strength was naturally not enough to move them. However, he used less than 5,000 years to walk from the present era to the ancient times. Chapter 41:14. Attach importance to it. Because this meant that the junior called Lin Ling had reached the martial god realm from an ordinary martial artist in less than 5,000 years. From this point of view, Lin Ling was indeed a rare talent. Of course, it was only rare, and it still hadn't reached that level of amazement. However, the governor of East City spoke again. I know that a mere second-level martial god is not enough to catch the attention of the spirit nation. However, I can tell you that his battle strength is comparable to a late-stage martial god. Furthermore, he possesses a divine fetus. Chi. Someone began to draw in a breath of cold air. And he has 2 innate divine embryos. The voice of the city lord of East City floated out again. Many people stopped drinking tea and frowned at East City's city lord. On top of that, he also has several great talents and trump cards. He's not any weaker than the experts trained by the spirit nation. Most importantly, he is still a trial taker of the gods. As the last sentence was spoken, the gazes of everyone in the hall began to heat up. They looked at each other and exchanged glances. After analyzing, they all believed that this Lin Ling was indeed a rare talent. That god really has a good eye. He actually made the first move against such a talent. A moment later, Lord Ning smiled faintly. Of course, if such a talent can't become a trial challenger, that would be too unfair. I'm a little curious about this Lin Ling. That's right. I wonder if he's comparable to the people we recruited. There are strong challengers and weak challengers. The strong ones aren't much weaker than us, and the weak ones can't even compare to the Academy's experts. But, it can't be denied that they all have great potential. Following that, the others also spoke up one after another, their gazes fixed on Lord Ning. Lord Ning nodded. If possible, I would like to represent the Spirit Nation to recruit Lin Ling. Upon hearing his decision, many people began to nod their heads. The seemingly impulsive and tyrannical old man from before was even more carefree as he said, "Practitioners are elusive. I'm afraid that this Lin Ling will be very difficult to find." That won't be the case, because they are now in the Spirit Palace. Lord Ning suddenly smiled. Hearing this, everyone in the hall was shocked. The governor of East City was stunned, then he immediately smiled. That guy Lin Ling was also here? For trial takers were scouts and found this place. They also know the secret of our spirit kingdom. Lord Ning continued, these 4 trial takers are the 4 gods. They are Lin Ling, Longyang, Yi, Little South, and Han Xie. They are all rising talents among them. Han Xie's age is the oldest, and he is the most powerful. What? They actually snuck in? They are truly worthy of being trial challengers. They're able to act so stealthily without anyone noticing. Of course, Lord Ning is even more fierce. You've already noticed them. But, why didn't Lord Ning stop them? Someone said with admiration at first, then suspiciously. The 4 gods only think that they are very powerful. In fact, they don't know that we have appeared in the 9 states many times, but they only discovered us now. They are really slow. Lord Ning snorted disdainfully, then said confidently, this time, we deliberately let them know. I see. Everyone nodded in realization. However, that kid called Lin Ling is really powerful. He brought the other 2 trial takers and sneaked into the treasury. Not only did he steal the treasures, but he also tried to steal the 1,000 scorpion sunrise painting drawn by Lord Ning. Lord Ning said. What? Everyone's expression changed drastically, because that painting was drawn by His Majesty. How dare he? Someone shouted angrily. Lord Ning waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter. Our spirit nation can afford these treasures. Just treat it as a reward for them. After all, sneaking in under the watchful eyes of so many people is not an easy task." Moreover, when the trial takers were competing, I thought that Han Xie had won. In the end, Lin Ling turned the tables and used an eye for an eye to scare away Han Xie. This was a good show, so this is my reward for him. Next, if I am not wrong, he should be going to Lu Chen's side. Lord Ning seemed to have everything under control and spoke with great familiarity. 9 Lantern Fish Lu Chen, the 9 states 10 evils who refused to enter the spirit nation. I remember that his friend, the leader of the Serpent Clan, died in front of him. I didn't expect him to be related to Lin Ling as well. The crowd immediately cried out in alarm. Lin Ling is a person who values friendship and loyalty. 9 Lantern Fish Lu Chen had helped him before. Therefore, he will come even if he has to go through fire and water. Lord Ning seemed to be very familiar with Lin Ling. In fact, he was very familiar with every dazzling figure in the 9 states. This was because his responsibility was to recruit experts and let them become His Majesty's men. The experts that he had recruited had a bright future. They had all become deities and returned to their positions as deities. What does Lord Ning mean? The governor of East City had a good relationship with Lin Ling and was also recruited by the Spirit Nation. However, he had hidden it very well and no one knew about it after so many years. Recruit him. He will definitely meet 9 Lantern Fish Lu Chen later. This is an opportunity for us. After all, he has 2 divine embryos. We cannot miss this opportunity. Lord Ning took a sip of tea and said decisively. That's right. We cannot miss this opportunity. The others nodded their heads one after another. On the contrary, the young experts behind them had flames of jealousy in their eyes. Naturally, they had heard of Lin Ling's name. However, they had never taken him seriously because he was just a trial taker. Unless it was the top few, they were not afraid. At this moment, Lin Ling and the others obviously did not know that they had been discovered long ago. At the same time, Lin Ling also put away the beast skin map. At this moment, he had successfully used the beast taming technique to tie up all the world scorpions. Although the process was not easy, the result was delightful. This was because the beast skin map was indeed a rare treasure. It could release the world scorpion's rising sun array. In fact, this beast skin map was drawn by the soul of the world scorpion. Countless world scorpions were imprisoned in it. These world scorpions were trapped in the beast skin map. They all wanted to leave the beast skin map and fly to the rising sun like moths to a flame. When Lin Ling activated the treasure, he was actually freeing the world scorpions and completing their mission. The rising sun. Let's go immediately. After putting away the treasure, Lin Ling said to Longyang and the others. It took you so long. This treasure must be extraordinary. Longyang said in a sour tone. Didn't you also get a treasure? How about I use this beast skin map to exchange with you? Lin Ling said with a faint smile. No way. No. Chapter 41:15. Arrived. Hee, you guys don't need to fight anymore. In any case, we've already reaped a great harvest. Moreover, the mission has also been completed. It's time to leave Spirit Light City. Little South was obviously in a good mood and interrupted the conversation between Lin Ling and Longyang. Have you forgotten what you promised me? However, Lin Ling looked at Little South with a strange smile, which made Little South think of something. She stuck out her tongue and nodded. Then let's go save them. She didn't forget her promise to Lin Ling. The 3 of them arrived in front of the huge ice door. Lin Ling also borrowed the human monarch's flame to make the white-clothed person outside open the door. Outside the ice door, the people in white who had been assimilated by him were still standing guard. When they heard Lin Ling's order, they immediately said to the people in white who were guarding the door, "Milord is coming out, open the door immediately." Good. The white-robed men did not suspect anything and immediately began to chant the Spirit Nation's incantation. Rumble. The gigantic ice door slowly opened, but it wasn't moving at a fast speed. As they watched the ice door slowly open, Lin Ling and the other two felt a little anxious. They were just one step away from escaping with their lives. They hoped that no strong cultivators would appear during this process. Fortunately, their prayers were answered. When the ice door opened wide enough for one person to pass through, Lin Ling and the rest did not encounter any Spirit Nation experts. At that moment, Lin Ling didn't beat around the bush. He instructed these people to guard the main hall and then led everyone away. After the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn, the corridor of the main hall welcomed many experts. The person in the lead was the white-robed woman and the leader of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. The white-robed woman searched the Spirit Light City, but in the end, she still let Han Xia escape. This made the white-robed woman furious. Moreover, from Han Xia's words, she knew that he was not the only one who had infiltrated the Spiritual Light City. There were 3 other challengers, and these challengers were all in the Spirit Palace. That was why she had rushed into the Spirit Palace so anxiously. During this period of time, did anyone enter the main hall? The white-clothed woman brought the crowd over and questioned the white-clothed people. Those experts naturally spoke of what had happened before. What? Are you all idiots? How can you allow anyone to enter a place with such great treasures? Hearing this, the woman in white finally felt that something was amiss. But, that lord is K Ling, we don't dare to disobey his orders at all. The Spirit Nation's experts were startled and quickly lowered their heads to explain. A bunch of trash. The woman evidently knew that she could not blame these people. The Spirit Kingdom's status was clear, and K Ling's status was even higher. How could these people resist her orders? Open the ice door. Then, the woman gritted her teeth and said. She prayed in her heart that nothing would happen. However, after some time had passed, the ice door opened, revealing an empty hall. Her face finally turned pale. Sure enough, they were all fooled. This was a scheme to lure the tiger away from the mountain. According to Han Xia, there are 3 trial takers in the Spirit Palace. Then, I can be sure that one of them is Lin Ling. Because, the 4 great gods sent trial takers as scouts. Generally, each god would only send 1 trial taker. Lin Ling is obviously here on behalf of one of the gods. The gods on his side will not send out other trial takers. Suddenly, the great demon god of the great demon sect said coldly. Lin Ling? The white-clothed woman suddenly clenched her teeth. Wasn't he being chased by us? Why did he escape here? This is a scheme to lure the tiger away from the mountain. He lured us out and then turned around to enter the Spirit Light City. This Lin Ling is really cunning. The great demon god said coldly. Being fooled by Lin Ling, his mood was naturally not good. The other leaders of the 9 prefectures 10 vicious did not speak. However, their eyes were secretly dark, especially the leader of the Tomb Guardian clan. His heart was like thunder. This was because not long ago, he was the one who had let Lin Ling go. He did not expect Lin Ling to go against his will and escape into the Spirit Light City. Those little guys were really brave. They must not have gone far. Search. Search the entire Spirit Palace to find them. Also, no one is allowed to enter or leave the Spirit Palace. The white-clothed woman's status was obviously not low. She immediately gave the order. Dragon Spirit, according to the time, it is time to let those people in. What should we do now? Beside her, the leader of the ancient demon clan suddenly asked. Hearing this, the white-clothed woman's eyes flickered. She naturally knew that outside the Spirit Light City, a large number of people were still searching for the Spirit Light City. They treated the Spirit Light City as the place of the gods' treasury. It was just that the Spirit Nation did not let them in. However, the Spirit Nation's purpose was to recruit that group of people. According to the time, it was time for them to enter the Spirit Light City. But the treasures in the main hall have all been stolen. The white-clothed woman said with a gloomy face. Those treasures were used to recruit that group of people. Now that the treasures were gone, how could that group of people join the Spirit Nation? Let them in first. Then, the white-clothed woman made a decision. However, the Spirit Light City can be open to them, but the Spirit Palace is not. As long as we find Lin Ling, we can take back the treasures and use those treasures to recruit those experts from the 9 states. Let's go. We must find Lin Ling. Then, the white-clothed woman strode forward. The rest of the powerhouses followed suit, and the shock in their hearts intensified. They never thought that Lin Ling would be able to ruin the Spirit Nation's plan all by himself. At this moment, Lin Ling followed the white-clothed people and walked along the ice crystal corridor toward another main hall. My lord, the dragon spirit has given the order. We have been exposed. As they moved forward, the white-clothed man in front of them immediately said. Although he had been assimilated by the human sovereign's flame, he could still receive the orders of the dragon spirit. Speed up. Lin Ling's face grew more solemn. He didn't want to delay the rescue of Senior Lu Chen because of the treasures. Swoosh. Swoosh. Everyone unleashed their full strength and disappeared from the corridor in an instant. There were also white-clothed people patrolling ahead. However, Lin Ling used his identity to intimidate that group of people and continued moving forward. Not long after, a huge ice door appeared in front of them. The ice door was 50 meters tall and 100 meters wide. From time to time, white ice fog would fill the air, and it was extremely mysterious. We're here. The white-clothed people in front of Lin Ling all stopped in their tracks, stared at the door, and laughed. Lin Ling nodded and looked at the huge ice door. He realized that the ice door here was actually bigger than the ice door where the treasures were hidden. This surprised Lin Ling. Could it be that Senior Lu Chen and the rest were more precious than the indigo spiritual flower? Otherwise, this door couldn't be bigger than the ice door in the treasure room. Something's not right. Then, Lin Ling frowned. What's going on? Longyang and Little South immediately looked at Lin Ling. Look outside the ice door, there's not a single guard. You must know that the ice door in the treasure room has countless experts. Lin Ling explained. Longyang and the rest stared at the ice door and nodded immediately. Chapter 41:16. The gods had returned. That's the treasure hall, so it's normal for there to be guards. This is where the prisoners are kept. Perhaps the Spirit Nation is confident, so they didn't send anyone to guard this place. Little South guessed. Impossible, the last time we were here, there were more guards than the ice gate. However, the people in white who had been assimilated by Lin Ling all shook their heads. Looks like things have changed. Lin Ling had an ominous premonition. What do we do now? Longyang looked at Lin Ling and said. Although she and Lin Ling were like fire and water, she was still a person of integrity. She had promised Lin Ling. Even if there was something wrong now, she had never thought of running away alone. Open the ice door by force. Lin Ling said coldly without hesitation. He was here for Lu Chen, so even if the situation had changed, he would not give up halfway. Just as he was about to force his way in, the huge frozen door suddenly opened slowly. Billowing icy mist filled the air as if the door to another world had been opened. Amidst the white icy mist, a terrifying aura could be faintly sensed. That was the aura of a god. Lin Ling and the others immediately acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Rumble. When the ice door was completely opened, a chuckle floated out. Welcome to the world of the gods. Although his voice was calm and polite, it carried a domineering aura that seemed to control the world. What happened? Longyang and the others narrowed their eyes at the strange sight before them. Lin Ling didn't say anything. His gaze landed on the ice door, and he discovered that it was a world of its own. It was actually a place with green mountains and clear waters, and there were a large number of people inside. Some people stood under the green mountain in silence. They were the members of the God Extermination Alliance. There were also some people who were sitting in the middle of the beautiful world, drinking wine and chatting merrily. "We've been exposed." Lin Ling's heart trembled, and he finally said, "What?" Longnyang and the rest immediately panicked. Then, they looked at Lin Ling. At this point, they didn't know what to do. This was because they all knew that the Spirit Nation was very powerful. Even if they were challengers, they would not be able to resist a single hair of the Spirit Nation. "We don't have a choice now. Let's go in. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided." Lin Ling strode in, causing Longnyang and the others to bitterly smile. In the end, they could only follow him in. Rumble. After all of them had entered, the huge ice door was completely shut. As for the crowd behind the ice door, they all looked at Lin Ling with smiles. A man raised the wine cup in his hand and said with a smile, "Welcome trial participant Lin Ling." This man was dressed in a divine python robe and had a jade crown on his head. He looked cultured and refined, but he had an irresistible divine might. This man's strength was definitely above the 10 great martial gods of the 9 prefectures because he'd already surpassed the martial gods. He could be called a god. Lin Ling looked deeply at the man. In a short period of time, countless thoughts rose in his mind. "Congratulations, everyone. You've returned to the gods' world. Have a seat." After the man smiled, he had people bring in tables and chairs and invited Lin Ling and the rest to sit down. Seeing this, Lin Ling didn't argue. He led Longnyang and the rest to sit down. This was because he knew that if such a powerful god really wanted to attack them, he wouldn't have needed to bring so many people. He even had a feeling that this god was deliberately waiting for Lin Ling's arrival. "Why do you welcome us to the god's world?" After sitting down, Lin Ling smiled faintly. "Hee hee. Hee hee." Hearing this, everyone laughed and looked at each other. Finally, they looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man didn't say anything. Instead, he said to the governor of East City, "It seems that your old friend is very curious." Hee hee. Lin Ling followed his gaze and was shocked. That was the governor of East City? Lin Ling, you don't have to be so surprised. In fact, 10,000 years ago, I've been in contact with the Spirit Nation. The governor of East City didn't care about Lin Ling's surprise and said faintly. However, his words made Lin Ling smile bitterly. It seemed that he knew too little after all. Because the Spirit Nation allowed me to return to my godhood. The governor of East City seemed to know that Lin Ling was very confused, so he explained. "Return to your godhood?" Hearing this, Lin Ling frowned slightly. "Let me say it." The man sitting at the head suddenly interrupted and said with a smile, "The War of the Gods back then was also known as the Twilight of the Gods. A large number of gods and gods fell. Those gods who fell were from 2 sides. One side was the current 4 gods, and the other was our side. It can be said that in the War of the Gods back then, the strength of the 2 sides were evenly matched." Hearing this, Lin Ling and Longnyang were shocked. They all thought that in the era of the gods back then, it was the gods who fought against the will of the world. They never expected that the 2 sides were evenly matched. This also meant that these people in front of them were part of the War of the Gods back then. The gods fell, and the void of the universe changed. However, as millions of years passed, the era began to change. In the post-God era, countless experts rose, stood out, and stood out in the void of the universe. The man said again, his eyes looking into the distance, "How did these people rise?" Some people say that they relied on perseverance and fighting spirit. Some people say that they relied on opportunities and luck. In fact, this isn't the key because they are all gods who had fallen. Now, they are beginning to return to their godhoods. Boom! When this news came out, Lin Ling and the others' hearts exploded. Even Lin Ling and Longyang looked at each other. The meaning in their eyes seemed to be saying that they were both gods in the past. Even their lives could be explained this way. Until now, they were able to rise out of the blue because they were gods in the past. Now, they were just returning to their godhoods. Therefore, this is also the era of the gods' return. Therefore, I welcome all of you back to the world of the gods. The man said again. Lin Ling and the others fell silent because the amount of information was too much. They also needed some time to digest it. But soon, Lin Ling smiled and said, "So, the Spirit Nation is wantonly recruiting to find the gods who had fallen in the past." That's right. The man didn't hide anything and nodded. Gods are omnipotent. They can turn nothingness into existence and reverse the universe. Their birth has been different from others since the beginning. Therefore, they should enjoy a higher status and rise to prominence. I think that the so-called gods are just people who are stronger in martial arts. That's all. However, Lin Ling smiled and said noncommittally. You can think of it that way. Gods are also humans, and humans are also gods. The man did not care about Lin Ling's words. Instead, he looked at Lin Ling with a smile and said, "Trial taker Lin Ling, one of Lei Gong's people, return to your godhood in less than 5,000 years of cultivation. I think you must have been an extremely powerful god in the past." "No, you must have been a god. Maybe I knew you in the past." Chapter 41:17. I'll buy your heart. Perhaps. Lin Ling was noncommittal. Suddenly, he understood the purpose of these people. The Spirit Nation was looking for the fallen deities in an attempt to recruit them. In fact, it was also to get these deities to join the will of the world. Therefore, the goal of these people was to recruit Lin Ling and the rest. However, in order to recruit Lin Ling and the others, they had actually mobilized so many experts, and there were even deities among them. This made Lin Ling feel that they were making a mountain out of a molehill. Perhaps you're doubting whether you have the right to do so. But let me tell you, you do. You absolutely do. You even have the right to have the Spirit Kingdom's Emperor step in personally. As if guessing Lin Ling's thoughts, the man spoke again. Not only Lin Ling, but even the people around the man were shocked when they heard this. The Spirit Nation valued Lin Ling too much. It's a pity that I'm already following Boss Lei Gong. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind changing to another big shot. After all, I don't care about the battle between the gods. I only care about who is sincere to me. Lin Ling said with a smile as he played with the teacup in his hand. Our Spirit Nation knows that you are loyal and not pedantic. That's why we value you so much. Unfortunately, we were one step too late and the Thunder God made the first move. However, it's better to be slow than to do nothing. The man shook his head and introduced himself. My name is Ning Qingshan. They all call me Minister Ning. You can call me Minister Ning. Minister? Everyone's eyes flickered. Because they all called that man Lord Ning, but Lin Ling could call him Lord Minister? This also explained Lin Ling's position in Ning Darren's heart. Thank you, Minister. Lin Ling also had a very good impression of that man. Although their standpoints were different, it didn't stop Lin Ling from praising him. This was because Lin Ling could sense that the other party was very sincere towards him. You're here for Lu Chen and the others, right? At this moment, Lord Ning spoke once more, and then he waved his hand. Someone immediately brought Lu Chen over. Lin Ling. As for Lu Chen, his strength had been sealed all this time. Now that the seal had been lifted, his eyes started to tear up when he saw Lin Ling. He had never imagined that Lin Ling would come to save him. He had charged into the fray single-handedly. Back then, he had helped Lin Ling a few times. He had never thought that there would be a day when that brat would repay the kindness of a drop of water. Senior Lu Chen, you don't have to say anything. Leave it to me. Seeing Lu Chen, Lin Ling was also a little excited. Then, he smiled and said, "Alas." Lu Chen let out a long sigh. Naturally, he knew what the spirit nation represented. He was afraid that Lin Ling would harm Lin Ling by making a deal with such a powerful entity. However, he also knew that Lin Ling's temperament was stubborn. Since he dared to come here alone today, then it was impossible to persuade him. "I won't say anything else. I, Lu Chen, will recognize you as my brother for the rest of my life." Lu Chen said word by word. His eyes were filled with endless gratitude. "All right, let's drink when we get back." Lin Ling nodded excitedly. Then, he looked at Lord Ning and said, "Lord Minister, this is my friend. If I want to take him away, I don't know what I have to pay in exchange." He knew very well that he had already been exposed, so it was impossible for him to secretly take Lu Chen away. He could only depend on Lord Minister's intentions. "It's very simple. You will fight 3 rounds. If you win, you can take Lu Chen away." Lord Ning smiled. Although his words seemed gentle, they were filled with endless heroism and dominance. "All right." Lin Ling nodded immediately. He did not ask which experts the other party would send because he believed that Lord Ning would not deliberately set a trap for him to jump into. With the other party's strength, there was no need for that at all. In fact, Lord Ning thought so too because he knew Lin Ling's temperament. The more he was pressured, the stronger his resistance would be. Therefore, such a person could not be dealt with forcefully. He had to hit his weak spot. Forcefully obtaining a person was only temporary. Winning his heart was the most important thing. 3 rounds. If you lose, you will join the Spirit Nation. How about that? These are my conditions. Lord Ning spoke again. His gaze swept across the crowd. His calm gaze was filled with dominance. Furthermore, not only Lu Chen, but I will also use the God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Clan, 2 of the 9 states' 10 evils, to buy your heart. When these words came out, it was as if the mountains and rivers were shaking. Everyone's heart was pounding. Even the governor of East City gasped. In order to buy Lin Ling's heart, he had used so many experts as bargaining chips. Of course, Lin Ling was also shocked because he knew that Lord Ning did not have to do this. He could have used force. He would have asked if Lu Chen wanted to join. If he did not, he would have killed him. At that time, Lin Ling would not have been able to fight back. However, Lord Ning did not do so. He reached an agreement with Lin Ling and gave Lin Ling enough respect. All right. At this point, Lin Ling had no reason to refuse. As expected of the trial tester, Lin Ling. You are a straightforward person. I look forward to your service to the Spirit Nation. I am sure that once you join the Spirit Nation, you will be put in an important position and will be able to revive the glory of the deity era. Seeing that Lin Ling had agreed, Lord Ning laughed heartily. However, I have not lost yet. Therefore, it is too early for me to betray Lord Lei Gong so soon. Lin Ling also spoke. Ha ha ha, then I will wait for your good news. Lord Ning nodded and asked, "Do you need to rest?" "No need. Let's start now." Lin Ling walked out. At this time, Long Yang tugged at Lin Ling and said, "For the 3rd battle, Little South and I will help you." Lin Ling was stunned. He did not expect Long Yang to make such a choice. However, Long Yang noticed the strange look in Lin Ling's eyes and immediately said coldly, "We said before that if you help us enter the main hall, we will help you save people. But now, we are of no use. That is why I suggested this. Don't think too much. Don't worry. There will be a time when you will be of use. If you fight and lose, you might have to join the Spirit Nation." Lin Ling said immediately. Hee, that's right. I am also very interested in Longyang. Lord Ning said at the right time. Longyang and Little South did not dare to speak. Lin Ling also rejected Longyang and the rest's help and walked step by step into the Green Mountain. Ling Lu, you go. At this time, Lord Ning's voice rang out. Then, a handsome young man walked out from the crowd. He was wearing the robe of the Sky Sword Academy and was obviously an expert of the Shinsan Hall. However, to be valued by the Spirit Nation, he was naturally much more powerful than many of the experts of the Shinsan Hall. Lin Ling, I have heard a lot about you. I would be lying if I said I wasn't jealous when I saw you being treated so well. Now, let me see if you are worth 2 of the 9 states' 10 evils. Chapter 41:18. 9 Heavens Obsidian. He didn't hide his thoughts because he knew that those who were being recruited were jealous of Lin Ling, and he was just one of them. In fact, he was right. Behind the gods, the eyes of the younger generation kept flickering. Obviously, they were jealous of Lin Ling. Looking at Lord Ning and the others, they were all smiling as they drank their wine. They didn't object to Ling Li's jealousy because they also knew that if Lin Ling wanted to convince the masses, he had to show some ability. You will know. Lin Ling said indifferently as 2 swords appeared in his hands. 2 swords. Not bad. It's a pity that swords have no eyes. Plus, this is a spar. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll kill you. But don't worry, I'll control my strength and spare your life. Ha! Ling Lu smiled faintly and stretched out his hand. Thick realm essence gathered and dyed his hand black, making it extremely sharp. I'm at the 7th level of the martial god realm with the innate divine embryo. I'm ranked 108th on the heavenly stairway of the gods and I have 10 streams of divine energy. You must be careful. Ha! As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Lu made his move. He stretched out his hand and the divine energy was as sharp as a knife. His 5 fingers closed together and shot toward Lin Ling. His steps were extremely strange. He moved left and right, but in fact, he had taken 10,000 steps in an instant to confuse Lin Ling's vision. His speed was 4,800 world speed. Ling Lu has the divine embryo body of the 9 Heavens Obsidian. Someone said faintly. The 9 Heavens Obsidian is a kind of Heaven Men's Stone, and the Heaven Men's Stone is extraordinary. In the ancient times, an ancient god used the Heaven Men's Stone to mend the void. Therefore, the Heaven Men's Stone seized the merit of heaven and earth and absorbed the essence of the sun and moon. It contained the divine embryo and turned into a divine monkey. In the ancient times, the divine monkey was extremely powerful. Although Ling Li's divine embryo body isn't a Heaven Men's Stone, it's still one of them. Lord Ning said calmly. Everyone nodded and widened their eyes. They didn't know that the Heaven Men's Stone had such a reason. As for Ling Tian, he was getting closer and closer to Lin Ling. His footsteps were as though he was chasing after the Grand Tao. Lin Ling was still motionless, both swords in his hands. At almost the same time, the sword in Ling Tian's hand was less than a meter away from Lin Ling. At such a distance, an expert would be able to kill his opponent in less than a breath. And at this moment, Lin Ling finally drew his sword, striking after the enemy. Although it took a long time to describe, it seemed fast. Just as Lin Ling's sword was about to reach Lin Ling's throat, Lin Ling's dark sword also shot out with 10 strands of divine energy, the lightning luster physique, the flame of the human monarch, and the Bodhi enlightenment. Ever since he used his spiritual force to control the beast skin diagram, Lin Ling's control over his divine energy had also increased by quite a bit. Clang! The sword and hand collided, and a deafening sound rang out. The most frightening thing was that Lin Ling's sword was actually unable to pierce through Ling Tian's sword hand. You have to know, this was a sword formed from a hand. The corners of Ling Tian's mouth also curled up into a cold smile, and he was just about to make a move. But in that instant, Lin Ling's other sword also moved. It was the tyrannical Song sword, mixed with 2 strands of divine energy, and it went past Ling Tian's palm, landing in front of his neck. A wisp of killing intent and demonic chi shot out, causing Ling Tian's pupils to constrict, and cold sweat began to form on his forehead. This is only a spar, you can't kill me. he said nervously. He never imagined that Lin Ling's dual swords would be so powerful. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, both swords simultaneously struck out, one sword blocking his sword hand, and the other attacking. You lost. Lin Ling withdrew his sword, and retreated. Pa pa pa. Under the Green Mountain, applause immediately floated out, and many people nodded their heads in praise, very satisfied. Lin Ling was indeed worthy of being a trial participant. Ling Tian is an expert in the top 10 of the 100 on the Divine Stairway. Sir Lin Ling, you were able to force him back with one strike, it's really amazing. Lord Ning nodded his head in satisfaction. He could see that Lin Ling's every move seemed calm, but there was still the rhythm of the great Tao in it. This meant that Lin Ling was not just a high realm, but his martial foundation was also beyond ordinary people. It was just a fluke. Lin Ling stood with his sword in hand, nodding his head lightly. This fellow is really a risk-taker. He clearly could have defeated Ling Tian in a safer and faster manner, but he chose to use such a dangerous method. If he hadn't blocked Ling Tian's sword earlier, he might have lost. Long Nyang's eyes narrowed, and she shook her head. With her eyesight, she could naturally see how Lin Ling won. It was unexpected, and a fatal strike. But he has 3 opponents. If he used his full strength at the beginning, if the next 2 people targeted him, then he would be at a disadvantage. Moreover, although it was risky, this method was also faster and more convenient. Little South, who was beside her, shook her head and said, "The first person is already so strong. I'm afraid the second person will enter the top 100 on the Divine Stairway." Long Yang nodded her head, and then guessed. Lin Ling was already waiting for the second person. He looked at Senior Lu Chen and saw the worry on his face. Lin Ling immediately smiled at him, indicating for him not to worry. Senior Lu Chen sighed again, knowing that he had implicated Lin Ling. This was because he knew that Lin Ling did not want to join the Spirit Nation, but for him, Lin Ling was willing to risk his life. "Lord Ning, I'll go for the second battle." At this moment, someone volunteered. It was a burly man, and his voice was like that of a god. He was wild and unruly, and he had the aura of an emperor. After he walked out, he immediately bowed to Lord Ning. But each and every one of his movements was completely natural. How was he still a martial artist? He was simply like a god. In terms of strength, he was probably one of the best in the martial god realm. His cultivation was not weak either. He was an 8th level martial god, and he had an acquired divine fetus. Realm Bear. Legend had it that the Realm Bear was the same as the Realm Scorpion. They were both ancient divine beasts. However, their ancestors had listened to the teachings of ancient great gods, so they had become gods. As a result, the descendants of their bloodlines had benefited greatly. For example, the current Realm Scorpion was an existence that could not be underestimated. The reason why the Realm Scorpion was so powerful was that its ancestors had listened to the teachings of the Buddha God for many years. However, they had accidentally bitten the Buddha God once, so they were chased out of the God's world. King Dexiong. Lord Ning frowned when he saw the man. This was because he had personally recruited this man. "Lord Ning, this man has a grudge against me. My elder brother was killed by him, so I want to take revenge." The man called King Dexiong did not hide anything and said solemnly. Lord Ning was immediately put in a difficult position. Lin Ling was someone he had his eyes on, but he had personally recruited King Dexiong. They were both his flesh and blood. "Alright, you go and fight." However, Lord Ning clearly treated his subordinates well. Since he had recruited King Dexiong, he would not let him down. "Thank you, Lord Ning." Sure enough, King Dexiong was grateful. He even kowtowed 3 times to Lord Ning. He would probably follow Lord Ning's lead for the rest of his life. Chapter 41:19. It was a dilemma. As for Lin Ling, he calmly looked at this scene. It had to be said that Lord Ning truly had the spirit of a superior. With just a simple action, he immediately caused a powerhouse to be loyal and devoted, even willing to protect him with his life. After all, it wasn't difficult to subdue an expert, but it was difficult to subdue an expert's heart. You are the second person? After that, Lin Ling looked at King De Xiong calmly and said. Not bad. The man nodded coldly and said, Trial taker Lin Ling, you and I have an irreconcilable enmity. Do you dare to fight me to the death? This is a sparring session, but you're here to fight to the death. Do you want to upset the minister? Lin Ling shook his head. Naturally, he wouldn't agree. It was not that he was afraid of this man, but he knew that this man called King De Xiong was a god personally recruited by Lord Ning. Therefore, regardless of whether Lin Ling won or lost, it would be disadvantageous to him. If he won, he would have to kill his opponent. This would make Lord Ning unhappy. Although Lin Ling didn't have a deep friendship with Lord Ning, the other party respected him. Lin Ling couldn't not give him face. Moreover, if he killed the other party, it would make Lord Ning feel that he, Lin Ling, didn't know how to do things. If he lost, Lin Ling would have to join the Spirit Nation. This was not something that Lin Ling wanted to see. Therefore, Lin Ling also realized that the so-called 3 battles were sometimes not only a clash of strength, but also a battle of conduct. You're afraid that Lord Ning will be unhappy? That's simple. Whoever loses will leave this place and commit suicide. If I, King Xiong, lose, I will keep my word. That man seemed to hate Lin Ling very much, which made Lin Ling curious. I seem to be seeing you for the first time. I wonder who I killed. My big brother is in the new celestial court. A year ago, after you stepped on the stairway to divinity, there were gods who massacred the people of the new celestial court. My big brother was one of them. It was because of that incident that I joined the Spirit Nation. The 4 great gods are bullshit. They treat people like pigs and dogs and kill as they please. The man gritted his teeth and said, looking a little extreme. Lin Ling was also enlightened. He knew that it was Eugene who did it. In fact, it had nothing to do with Lin Ling because it wasn't Lin Ling who asked Eugene to kill those people. Eugene didn't want to offend Lei Gong and made the decision himself. You don't dare? What heavenly voice of God Lin Ling? In my opinion, he is just a coward. Hee, how can such a person be worth 2 of the vicious 10 of the 9 prefectures? What a joke. He's just a coward. Seeing Lin Ling remain silent, King Xiong laughed disdainfully. Since you insist on having your own way, then I will fight to the death. As for suicide? Sorry, there is no such word as suicide in my dictionary. Unless I die in battle. Lin Ling's sword hummed. He would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Alright, unless I die in battle. Yes. King Xiong also shouted angrily. Seeing the murderous aura from the 2, many people narrowed their eyes and subconsciously looked at Lord Ning. However, the latter had his eyes closed and was drinking tea with an unfathomable expression. This made many people speechless. In their opinion, Lin Ling was a rare talent, but so was King Xiong. If either of them fell, it would be a great loss to the Spirit Nation. This is troublesome. Yes. Long Yang frowned secretly. Sister Long, what's wrong? At the side, Little South immediately asked. Lin Ling does not have a choice in this battle. If he admits defeat, he will have to join the Spirit Nation. If Lin Ling wins, he will have to kill Lord Ning's subordinate. This is equivalent to humiliating Lord Ning. If it was a narrow-minded person, he might even go back on his words. Long Yang secretly said. Then Senior Lin Ling is in a dilemma. Sigh. Little South helplessly slapped her forehead. However, Long Yang nodded and said, however, I reckon that with Lin Ling's character, he will not show any mercy. That guy looks amiable, but when he is fierce, even ghosts are afraid of him. Boom. At this moment, under the Green Mountain, the two experts looked at each other and unleashed their full strength. King Xiong's figure grew taller as a divine bear roared. It was as if he was guarding a divine mountain. His boundary essence also rose steadily. Judging from his strength, there would be few who could match him in the 8th level of the martial god realm. Most importantly, his divine energy was extremely terrifying. There were as many as 15 strands. The divine energy had a heaven-defying might. After it entered his body, it made him even more domineering like a god. Boom! On the other side, Lin Ling's super berserk state appeared. The sea urchin lightning was released. I heard that the 4 great gods have methods to awaken divine energy in the divine fetus. Lin Ling's divine energy is not weak. Looking at the overbearing divine might, someone said with a solemn look in his eyes. Divine energy was the symbol of the 4 great gods. Humph, it's just divine energy. It's only effective on some weak people. If they also have divine fetus, the influence will be much smaller. Moreover, the divine energy is the foundation of the divine energy. Lord Ning immediately snorted. As long as the 4 great gods were mentioned, he would not be at a disadvantage. While they were talking, Lin Ling and King Xiong had already collided. Both of them unleashed their full strength, shaking the heavens and the earth. The two of them fought from the ground to the green mountain in the distance. Splash! The huge lake under the green mountain was hit by the two of them, causing waves to shoot up into the sky. After sprinkling down, under the illumination of the sun, a gorgeous rainbow appeared. Lin Ling is so powerful. Behind the various experts, the people who were being recruited narrowed their eyes. This was because they knew King Xiong's strength, but they did not expect Lin Ling to be able to fight evenly with King Xiong. Lin Ling defeated the city lords of the 36 cities. The city lord of East City said lightly. His words made many people's eyes narrow. This was the first time they had heard of such news. It seems that we have underestimated him. Then, many powerful gods said solemnly. As for the people behind them, they were secretly gritting their teeth. Their dissatisfaction with Lin Ling had more or less weakened. After all, who asked him to be so strong? You actually have 16 strands of divine energy. King Xiong said in shock as he watched the battle on the Green Mountain. He had repeatedly clashed with Lin Ling, but to no avail. He had never expected that Lin Ling, at such a young age, would have 16 strands of divine energy. One had to know that his current divine energy was obtained after tens of thousands of years of cultivation. You are no match for me. Lin Ling said lightly. At this moment, he did not use his sword. Instead, he used both his hands to clash with King Xiong. Since King Xiong did not use any weapons, Lin Ling did not want to take advantage of him. However, Lin Ling had also activated all of his divine energy. In terms of talent, he was twice as strong as King Xiong. In terms of realm, Lin Ling had 6 stanchions. In terms of divine energy, Lin Ling had 1 more strand. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, Lin Ling was undoubtedly going to win this battle. Compared to when he was at the divine staircase, his strength has increased so much. Chapter 41:20. He was once her senior. She clearly remembered that Lin Ling only possessed 10 strands of the divine energy when he ascended the stairway to divinity. Moreover, at that time, Lin Ling's control over the divine embryo had been very crude. But now, Lin Ling already possessed the might of a berserker. And Sister Long, his divine might seems to be even stronger than ours. Little South said in surprise. This was the first time he had seen Lin Ling's strength. Because he has 2 divine embryos. Longyang enunciated each word clearly, but her words made Little South suspicious. Big Sister Longyang, don't you also have 2 divine embryos? Your divine might shouldn't be any weaker than his. Hearing this, Longyang didn't say anything. Rumble. The battle on Lin Ling's Green Mountain became more and more intense. The great Xiong king seemed to have transformed into a divine bear as he swung his giant claws continuously. Lin Ling, on the other hand, defended himself with both hands and remained as immovable as a mountain. In the end, Lin Ling took advantage of King Xiong's anxiousness to lower his body and avoid King Xiong's terrifying divine power. Then, both of his palms landed on King Xiong's body. Boom! He activated all of his divine power and forced King Xiong to retreat. You lost. After that, Lin Ling turned around and left. He didn't intend to continue the fight. I haven't lost yet. However, who knew that King Xiong would not give up? After retreating, he once again pounced towards Lin Ling. He erupted with the speed of 6,000 worlds. His bare paw seemed to be able to shatter the heavens as he slapped towards Lin Ling's back. Stubborn. Lin Ling's footsteps came to a halt as he coldly snorted. Without even looking behind him, 2 swords appeared in his hands as he viciously slashed out. Lin Ling, no. Almost at the same time, the city lord of Yi City also shouted. He was afraid that Lin Ling would kill the great Xiong king. That would be troublesome. However, his shout was still too slow. Lin Ling's sword was like a rainbow, clean and efficient. Boom! The great Xiong king's figure smashed into the green mountains, shattering countless green mountains. At this moment, everyone stood up, shook their heads, and sighed. Lin Ling had killed the great Xiong king, which meant that he had killed one of Lord Ning's subordinates. He wondered how Lord Ning would deal with Lin Ling. Longyang also sighed softly and warned Little South to prepare to fight to the death because she could foresee the troublesome outcome. Pa pa pa. But right at this moment, Lord Ning finally opened his eyes and clapped, not bad. Thank you, Your Excellency Lin Ling, for giving me face. Lord Ning has treated me like a friend. How could I not give him face? Lin Ling stood in the sky and looked down at Lord Ning with a smile. Everyone immediately became confused. However, these people were all powerhouses, so they immediately reacted after sensing it. A huge pit had appeared under the green mountains. The great Xiong king was lying there, spitting out blood from his mouth. There were 2 deep sword wounds on his chest, but he was not dead. Could it be that Lin Ling did not use the sword's edge but the sword's body at that critical moment? That should be the case. In this way, he could defeat the great Xiong king without killing him and offending Lord Ning. This guy really does things flawlessly. No wonder Lord Ning values him so much. Those people started whispering to each other. Then, they stared at Lin Ling with a smile on their faces. As for Lord Ning, he kept nodding his head in praise. A powerful god was indeed hard to come by, but a god who knew how to control his power freely was even rarer. Not only did Lin Ling defeat the great Xiong king, but he also didn't kill him. Lin Ling had done well. The third battle. Under the sky, Lin Ling said calmly. Everyone looked at each other and then looked at the young powerhouses standing behind him. However, those powerhouses were frowning. Through the previous battle, they knew that Lin Ling was a strong opponent. His strength could definitely make it to the top 100 on the stairway to heaven on the divine list, and his ranking would not be low. They could not win against such an expert. It's normal that you can't win. Lin Ling is someone who is valued by the deities. I think this Lin Ling must have been an extremely powerful deity in the past. Lord Ning suddenly smiled and looked around. Finally, he looked at a middle-aged man who was sitting down. Wang Shui, why don't you go and play? As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed drastically. That was because one could tell the status of the people present from their seats. All the rising stars were standing behind the seats. Those who were qualified to sit down were definitely extraordinary. It could be said that they were of a different generation. Me? At that moment, the man named Wang Shui raised his head calmly. His eyes were filled with suspicion. His long hair fell and covered half of his face. He looked a little lonely and unruly. The sparse beard on his face made him look even more aged. Lord Ning, Wang Shui is here? The governor of Yi City said in disbelief. That was because he knew Wang Shui's strength. That's because he came from the same place as Lin Ling. As a senior, he's very suitable to fight with Lin Ling. Lord Ning said with a smile. All right. Wang Shui pondered for a moment, then walked out of his seat and walked towards the sky. Longyang and the others' expressions changed slightly when they saw this older expert. The peak of the martial god realm? Longyang said in disbelief. As for Lin Ling, he frowned slightly. He could also sense the strength of this person. Speaking of which, he had never fought with an expert at the peak of the martial god realm in his life. Lin Ling, I come from Snow City. I was once a student of the Snow Academy. Therefore, we can be considered half-friends. After a while, the man named Wang Shui finally stopped and smiled at Lin Ling. His words surprised Lin Ling. Moreover, the current principal of the Snow Academy was once my junior. The man named Wang Shui continued, I heard that you came from the Snow Academy. Therefore, I'm here to fight with you. Is it appropriate? Lin Ling shook his head inwardly. It seemed that as he continued to display his strength, Lord Ning kept increasing the difficulty. Now, he had already sent such an ancient figure to fight with him. Lin Ling couldn't help but look at Lu Chen on the ground. Then, his gaze fell on Lord Ning and he finally nodded his head. He knew that it wouldn't be easy to take away the God Extermination Alliance. Seeing Lin Ling nod his head, the man named Wang Shui also nodded his head. As for the city governor of Yi City and the others on the ground, they all shook their heads. However, they also knew that Lin Ling had no other choice. Your cultivation is too low. I'm at the peak of the martial god realm. My strength is comparable to the leader of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. Therefore, I won't bully you. How about I suppress my strength to the early stage of the martial god realm? Wang Shui. That Wang Shui said again, you, after all, are my junior sister's people, I don't want to bully the weak. That's not necessary. However, Lin Ling also shook his head. How about this? You defeated a few experts at the late stage of the martial god realm. Then, I'll suppress my strength to the late stage of the martial god realm. Chapter 41-21. A formidable opponent. As a result, the strength of his world essence was on par with Lin Ling's. Obviously, he knew that although Lin Ling seemed to be only at the second level of the martial god realm, the density of his world essence was comparable to a late-stage martial god. Thank you. Although Lin Ling didn't want the other party to suppress his strength, he also knew that if he continued to persuade him, he would be looking down on him. However, even if the other party had suppressed his strength, the other party was still comparable to the leader of the 9 states' fiercest 10. At present, it was very difficult for Lin Ling to win. Unless he used the overarching heavenly umbrella and the beast skin diagram. However, this was a spar. If he used these treasures, he would become a joke. Without hiding his strength anymore, Lin Ling began to fuse with his talents and turned into an incomparably terrifying monster. And looking at Lin Ling's power constantly increasing, Wang Shui also showed an interested look. You are really strong. Our Snow Wind Academy has produced a god-level genius like you for so many years. This is the Snow Wind Academy's blessing. Senior is actually from the Snow Wind Academy, why don't you go back and take a look? Countless tentacles appeared behind him. Thunder, fire, the dragon god, and the realm-devouring beast's talents all spread out. Hee, I'm too ashamed to go back. Wang Shui smiled deeply and sighed. If you want to know the reason, then you will know after you defeat me. I will beat you. 2 swords appeared in Lin Ling's hands, and his expression turned solemn. The 2 of them floated under the firmament and did not attack. Instead, their auras clashed madly. Rumble. The collision of their auras caused the Green Mountain to tremble. Beneath the ground, the weaker members of the younger generation felt as if they were carrying a divine mountain on their backs. Even breathing became difficult. This is Senior Lin Ling's full strength. Little South said solemnly as he retreated. She finally knew that Lin Ling's strength was definitely the strongest among the new trial challengers. She couldn't even compare to Longyang. This is his full strength. When he met the senior of the Snow Wind Academy, his fighting spirit was also aroused. I estimate that the man called Wang Shui was once the most dazzling genius of the Snow Wind Academy. Longyang also retreated and said solemnly. Then, this will be the clash of the two strongest geniuses in the history of the Snow Wind Academy. Little South was shocked. Unfortunately, Lin Ling's cultivation time is too short. It seems that his chances of winning are very slim. However, Lin Ling's growth has always been monstrous. Perhaps he also wants to use this battle to break through the door and step into a new world. Longyang said faintly, as if she was very familiar with Lin Ling. When one reaches Lin Ling's level of strength, the speed of his growth will slow down. Even if he breaks through the realm, his strength will increase step by step. The increase won't be great, but if he meets a strong opponent, his growth will increase by several times. However, there are pros and cons. If Lin Ling can't hold on, then he will be defeated. He may even suffer a setback and it will be difficult for him to rise again. Hearing this, Xiao Nan nodded, that's right. I heard from Grandpa Black God that many strong people had a smooth journey before they rose to power. However, after they encountered a huge setback, they fell into decline. Even gods are no exception. As long as you are human, you will have emotions. With emotions, you will naturally have inner demons, so this is not surprising. But I believe that Lin Ling is not someone who will give up so easily. Longyang stared at Lin Ling. The fighting spirit in her heart was also aroused. At this moment, in the sky, the two men looked at each other. They were only 100 meters apart. A formless wind spread out between them, causing the void to crack open. Then, it continued to merge. However, neither of them moved. They did not even blink. Even their eyes were as calm as an ancient well. They were like stone statues. Both of them were looking for each other's flaws. In such a battle between experts, sometimes a flaw could affect the outcome of the entire battle. Amazing. On the ground, perhaps affected by the oppressive atmosphere, a strong person said in shock. Obviously, they all knew that in this kind of battle between gods, even the slightest flaw could be grasped and turn defeat into victory. Therefore, the two people in the sky were not only competing in momentum, but also in endurance, perseverance, fighting spirit, and fighting spirit. If any one of these aspects was weak, it could still change the whole situation. Time passed quietly. Unknowingly, 2 hours had passed. The two of them were still motionless, but sweat dripped from their foreheads. They did not seem to have made a move, but in fact, this collision of momentum was no less than an earth-shattering battle. But gradually, Wang Shui's eyes began to flicker. She was a little shaken. That was a kind of guilty conscience. It was as if he had met someone from the Snow Wind Academy again. He felt guilty and could not face them. Although this inner demon had been suppressed and even resolved by him for so many years, this inner demon that should have dissipated quietly broke out like a stubborn disease in the midst of such a battle between experts. This was also the reason why martial artists had to destroy their heart demons. Because in a life and death battle, the heart demon's influence was great. Looking at Lin Ling again, his eyes were still firm. He would not be shocked even if the sky collapsed. His heart demon had been destroyed, and the people in the rainforest sacred land had returned. He had a clear conscience. If there was anyone, it would be the current senior Lu Chen. He, Lin Ling, owed Lu Chen a favor, and today he was here to repay it. Therefore, no matter who stood in front of him, he had to step over this big block of characters. He is after all a member of the Snow Wind Academy. This is disadvantageous to me. I have to make a move. Wang Shui's eyes flickered even more fiercely. Suddenly, he made a move. A snow-probing staff, mixed with 15 divine powers, flew across the void and attacked Lin Ling. When this slender and sparkling staff appeared, the sky was filled with snow. Behind him, a white-haired woman appeared. She looked up at the sky, opened her hands, and summoned ice and snow. Ice Goddess. This was not a god from the ancient era, but from the era of gods. However, she had an illustrious reputation in the era of gods. And Wang Shui's talent was the divine fetus, world of ice and snow. Xiao. The long staff was incomparably fast, reaching 6,500 world speed. Moreover, it smoothly passed by Lin Ling and pierced his body. The blizzard came and froze his body. Kacha. However, the ice sculpture immediately exploded, and the figure that appeared in the ice sculpture also scattered like the wind. It was a shadow. However, Wang Shui was not surprised at all. The long staff that he had stabbed out suddenly swept behind him, bringing with it a rolling snowstorm. Clang! In the blink of an eye, 2 swords slashed down crazily behind him, mixed with 16 divine powers. Thunder, fire, Buddha, immortal. At the moment of collision, a huge wave of air raged wildly with the 2 of them as the center. Lin Ling was shocked. This Wang Shui seemed to have suppressed his realm, but his divine powers were too fierce, and his talent was very strong. In terms of talent control, Lin Ling was ashamed of his inferiority. Chapter 41-22. Song of Ice and Fire. Tyrannical Song. The true inheritance dark sword was still resisting the snow-seeking staff, but Lin Ling pulled out his tyrannical song sword and slashed at Wang Shui with murderous intent and demonic energy. At this moment, the headless old man who had disappeared without a trace quietly appeared behind Lin Ling. The expressions of the deities below changed when they saw this scene, especially Lord Ning. His brows were tightly furrowed because he sensed a familiar feeling from the headless phantom. It was as if he had seen it somewhere before. But in the end, he still couldn't recognize it. However, he was sure that Lin Ling's power was the essence of many schools, including thunder, fire, Buddha, ghost, demon, slaughter, and immortal. Good and evil, light and darkness, merged into a person's body. How strange. Lord Ning muttered to himself, and his curiosity about Lin Ling grew stronger. Continuous blizzard. Almost at the same time, Wang Shui saw Lin Ling's demonic sword slashing at him. He shouted and slapped out with his other hand. The crazy power of the ice god poured out and froze the tyrannical song sword. However, the tyrannical song sword was also powerful, and its murderous intent gushed out. With a clang, it shattered the ice and snow. Boom! At the moment when it collided with Wang Shui's palm, a tyrannical power burst out, and the impact sent both of them flying backward. As expected of the outstanding talent of the Wind Snow Academy, Wang Shui shouted and pounced on Lin Ling again. Senior, as expected of the number 1 in the past. Lin Ling was the same. Rumble. The 2 of them were like magnets, colliding and separating from each other, then colliding again. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had exchanged 300 moves. The whole Green Mountain was constantly shaking. World of ice and snow. After another collision, Wang Shui's hands danced wildly in front of him, drawing 9 huge ice circles, and then he slammed them at Lin Ling. The huge ice circle surged over like a dragon, continuously expanding. Everywhere it passed, everything would be frozen into ice sculptures, and then shattered into dust. And within the 9 ice circles, the snow-seeking divinity staff shot out like a sharp arrow. In the end, it even surpassed the 9 ice circle divine dragons, as if it was flying with the ice dragons. Looking from the ground, the scene was also incomparably magnificent. Crackle. Before it reached Lin Ling, the lightning outside Lin Ling's transcendent realm was frozen, causing his expression to change. The power of divinity in this move had probably reached 20 strands. As expected of someone comparable to the leader of the 9 prefectures Vicious 10. Read Bodhi's scripture Heavenly Venerable Shu, 6 paths of 10,000 elements controlling the winds and clouds, yellow Bodhi's 1,000 hands Guanyin, Guanyin's 1,000 hands shaking the universe. Lin Ling channeled the power of divinity from the Bodhi testimony divine ability into his 2 swords and slashed out. Crash. However, before he could approach the giant ice circle, a wave of frightening ice god power repelled him. Lin Ling's pupils did not change as he used the repelling force to frantically retreat. Where do you think you're going? Seeing this, Wang Shui's aura was also overbearing as he chased after Lin Ling. Lin Ling kept retreating, passing through countless green mountains. However, wherever Wang Shui passed, the green mountains froze and turned into ice mountains. In the end, the 2 of them disappeared into the endless mountains. It was as if the ancient gods had fought and destroyed the endless divine mountains. Lin Ling saw that the ice god power behind him was getting closer and closer. He put away the tyrannical song sword, and with a wave of his right hand, golden flames turned into a vortex and swept out. Flames of the great earth. Then, he threw it behind him. Boom! In the endless green mountains, a frightening golden flame erupted, and a huge Dharma idol of the human king descended upon the world. Flames of the human king. Looking at the dazzling firestorm, everyone's eyes became more serious. Next, ice and snow arrived and fought against the golden flames. This also formed a huge world of ice and fire, like a song of ice and fire. The scene was so terrifying that Longyang and Little South sucked in a breath of cold air. They did not expect Wang Shui to be so strong, and they did not expect that Lin Ling's full strength would be so terrifying. Both of them were known as the gods of the current generation. But soon, a holy goddess appeared in the world of ice and snow. She controlled the ice and snow like she could summon the wind and rain, drowning the flames of the human king. After all, this world of ice and snow had a total of 20 strands of divine power. Lin Ling's flames of the human king could only resist it by relying on the purest divine fetus, but the divine power was still weak. Seeing the endless snowstorm coming, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. Suddenly, he shouted coldly, "Go!" He poured all of his divine power into the true inheritance nether sword and threw it at Wang Shui. Almost at the same time, the white snowstorm arrived and drowned Lin Ling. At this moment, Wang Shui was floating outside the snowstorm. His eyes continued to flicker. Did he win? However, at this moment, the snowstorm was penetrated. A sword mixed with the divine power of Buddha, immortal, fire, and lightning instantly pierced through his chest. This kind of unforeseen event was clearly something that Wang Shui did not expect. Rumble. Looking at Lin Ling's side, the snowstorm invaded, causing Lin Ling to grit his teeth. Then, he did not delay any longer. At the critical moment, several indigo spirit flowers appeared in his palm, and he stuffed them into his mouth. His chaos divine formula could refine anything. So, he fought with his life on the line. He hoped to use this short period of time to increase his strength again. Although this was somewhat suspicious of cheating, Wang Shui was an expert who had been famous for a long time. Presumably, Wang Shui would not say anything. Just as the indigo spirit flowers disappeared into his mouth, Lin Ling was frozen. Moreover, the earth and the sky were all frozen. Swoosh! The snowstorm also rushed into the distance. After it disappeared into the distant world, the place where Lin Ling was standing was frozen. Only the figure of a young man could be vaguely seen in the endless green mountains. The young man's eyes were extremely dignified. He maintained the posture of stuffing things into his mouth. Everything was so vivid. He lost. People looked at the strange scene in the distance and exclaimed in surprise. Because it was too shocking. Not only was Lin Ling frozen, but also the green mountains, the earth, and the sky. This caused a huge mirror to appear in the distance. Wang Shui is injured. Someone looked at Wang Shui and said. He saw a sword grazing Wang Shui's chest. The sword was also frozen, but the tip of the sword pierced Wang Shui's chest, causing blood to stain his clothes. However, Wang Shui looked into the distance and said indifferently, "He hasn't lost yet." "Yes." Hearing this, everyone present felt as if they were struck by lightning. Because, facing Wang Shui's 20 divine energy, Lin Ling was still not defeated? "I can sense his life force. Although it is like a dim flame, that flame is trying to reignite and burn again," Wang Shui said solemnly. He did not expect this rising star to be so terrifying. It was as if he came from a distant place and suddenly appeared beside him. His strength was almost comparable to his. Chapter 41-23. The 8-9 Demonic Art. He really has too many talents. This is his trump card. Junior, I didn't expect the Snow Wind Academy to have such a freak. Junior. Wang Shui's eyes suddenly looked into the distance with anticipation. That year, he represented the Snow Wind Academy in the battle. He should have shocked everyone, but unfortunately, he was careless and was defeated in the end. At that time, the Snow Wind Academy had the most hope to rise, but because of his failure, the Snow Wind Academy plummeted, and he disappointed the Snow Wind Academy. This also became his inner demon. Rumble. While he was thinking, endless darkness suddenly appeared in the world of ice and snow in front of him, as if it was dyed with ink, and a fierce aura soared into the sky. The 4 great beasts, Chaos. Junior. Seeing this, Lord Ning's pupils shrank. He sensed the awakening of chaos. Crack. 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 The world of ice and snow had just been dyed black, and suddenly, endless cracks spread out in the ice and snow, and a dragon roared. This was the dragon god. It had the power of a divine fetus. He seems to have stimulated something, and pushed those talents to the peak. TSK, this battle is wonderful, and it makes people's blood boil. This is the peak battle of the post-gods era. Junior. Then, Lord Ning laughed, inexplicably excited because he felt that today, he was fated to see an extremely rare battle. Wang Shui suddenly lifted her head. Her eyes trembled as she said, "This fellow." Boom. More and more cracks appeared in the world of ice and snow, and finally, the world of ice and snow completely exploded. Countless ice shards shot out in all directions, and the power was extremely terrifying. At the center of the explosion, a man in black walked out step by step. Behind him, a fierce aura surged and turned into a huge mouth, swallowing the sky and the earth. This was the 4 great beasts, Chaos. And it was the real Chaos body. This was the acquired divine fetus. Looking at the fierce clouds, there was a dragon swallowing the clouds, ferocious and ferocious. It was the real dragon god. The dragon clan's bloodline was also divided into noble and lowly. The noble one was the dragon god, because it was a divine fetus. And, there were 2 dragon gods of that level. Everyone stared at the man in the sky, and their pupils contracted. They never thought that Lin Ling had such a move. Didn't you say that he only had 2 divine embryos? Now it seems that he has 5 divine embryos. Although 3 of them are at the Ho Tian level, they're still divine embryos. Someone said with a trembling voice. The city lord of East City smiled excitedly. Compared to last time, Lin Ling seemed to be even stronger. He was very curious as to what Lin Ling had done to suddenly increase his strength by so much. Lin Ling, who walked out, didn't say much. He walked towards Wang Shui step by step. Suddenly, his body exploded, turning into 3 ferocious forces that swept out like tornadoes. The sky dragon on the left, the wind dragon on the right, and the primal chaos in the center. Wang Shui's expression changed when she sensed the unstoppable power. The power of the ice god surged in her body and turned into a huge piece of 10,000-year mysterious ice to resist the power from the 3 directions. Boom! Boom! 3 consecutive booms rang out. Although Lin Ling did not use the power of divinity, the terrifying power was not much weaker than the power of divinity. Was this still the Lin Ling who had to retreat from Wang Shui and did not dare to confront her head-on? No one knew that Lin Ling had used the sapphire spiritual flower to forcefully make the two dragon gods and the realm-swallowing beast's talons step into the Hotian divine embryos. The strength of that power had increased by 30,000 realms power, which added up to 90,000 realms power. 90,000 realms, in addition to Lin Ling's own 60,000 realms power, the current Lin Ling had gathered 150,000 realms power. Ka ka ka. The huge 10,000-year mysterious ice began to shatter, and the illusion of the ice goddess became even more illusory. So powerful. The city lord of East City and the others all sucked in a cold breath. They could sense the ferocity of the power in the sky. If it was in Zhuzhou, among the 36 city lords, there were probably no more than 3 people who could defeat Lin Ling. If this continued, Wang Shui would definitely be defeated. This also meant that Lin Ling could take her away. Wang Shui, it's not that simple. However, at this moment, Lord Ning said lightly. Wang Shui's strength was comparable to the leader of Zhuzhou's 10 vicious. How could she be defeated so quickly? At this moment, in the sky, Wang Shui saw that the pressure was increasing. Her eyes turned cold, and a demonic aura bloomed in the depths of her eyes like a flower petal. Ka ka ka. Boom boom boom. Next, the 10,000-year mysterious ice shattered. However, in the endless ice and snow, a figure with rolling demonic aura quietly appeared. Then, looking at Lin Ling's 3 forces, she fiercely punched 3 times. Boom boom boom. The void exploded. After the 3 punches collided with Lin Ling's 3 forces, the 3 forces were beaten back to their original forms. They were the 2 dragon gods and Hundun. 8-9 demonic art. After knocking away the 3 forces, the figure's lips curled into a cold smile as she said lightly. If in the beginning, this person's aura was lonely and desolate, then now it was filled with demonic aura. 8-9 demonic art. Hearing Wang Shui's voice, everyone's expression changed slightly. My lord, could it be the void's number 1 physical body technique? Someone looked at Lord Ning in shock and said. In the ancient era, there were 3 ancient great gods who had achieved divinity with their bodies. They rebuked the heavens and earth, and what they cultivated was precisely this cultivation method. In the records of the era of gods, this cultivation method was incomparably fierce. It did not fear the power of gods, nor did it fear the power of the void. It surpassed the great Tao laws of the void. No, Wang Shui's cultivation technique is a modified version of that cultivation technique. After all, it's not easy to obtain the cultivation technique of an ancient great god. The ancient great god's cultivation technique is the 8-9 mysterious art. Wang Shui's cultivation technique is the 8-9 devil art. The 8-9 devil art will turn one's body into a devil. Lord Ning said lightly. Everyone suddenly realized that Wang Shui was cultivating a modified version of the technique. However, they were still shocked. This was because they knew how powerful the real 8-9 mysterious art was. Relying on this powerful technique, the 3 ancient great gods dominated the world in ancient times. Boom! At this moment, Wang Shui moved and disappeared on the spot. Then, she punched out. Terrifying demonic aura lingered around her body, forming a powerful physical strength. In front of her, Lin Ling was floating there quietly. Around him, the 3 forces returned to his body. He stared at Wang Shui and felt the terrifying physical strength of the other party. This was also the first time he saw an expert whose physical strength was comparable to his since he started practicing martial arts. No, it should be stronger than him. His fleshly body strength has most likely reached the power of 200,000 worlds. Wow! Lin Ling said in shock. His 150,000 world force was still a bit weaker. However, he had 6 dantians, which could make up for some of the gap. After he used that technique, his temperament seemed to have changed. Wow! Chapter 41-24. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Fatal Power. Previously, I heard Lord Ning and the others say that Wuxia cultivates the 8-9 demonic arts, which is adapted from an ancient great god's cultivation method. In the myths of Wuxia, there are only 3 people who cultivate the 8-9 mysterious arts. This kind of cultivation method also has many names. Some are called the 9 Revolutions Divine Arts, and some are called the 8-9-72 Heaven Transformation Technique. The 3 people who cultivate this divine art are Yang Jian, Yuan Hong, and Sun Wukong. Lin Ling's heart trembled. He didn't know if his guess was true, but he knew that there was such a story in China. However, seeing Wang Shui's ferocious attack, Lin Ling also withdrew his mind. His body also began to change continuously. For a time, he transformed into chaos, devouring the heavens and the earth. For a moment, he transformed into the dragon god and roamed the 9 prefectures. For a moment, he turned into a lightning lock and wreaked havoc in the sky. For a moment, he transformed into a human king and burned the earth. In the end, all of these clones disappeared and returned to Lin Ling. Boom! Boom! After those clones disappeared, his strongest punch, which contained all of Lin Ling's strength, blasted out as if it could split the heavens and earth. On the other side, Wang Shui's eyes flickered. She had also sensed how terrifying Lin Ling's punch was. It was probably comparable to the power of 200,000 worlds because it contained the power of the gods and rich world essence. What a strange guy. His method of fusing power is too strange. Wang Shui was shocked. This was because after activating the 8-9 evil art, he wouldn't be able to use any other methods, such as his Ice World Divine Embryo, but Lin Ling could. Good timing. He roared angrily, opposing Lin Ling with equal harshness. Everyone, back off. Seeing that the 2 of them were about to dominate the area, Lord Ning let out a low shout and ordered the weaker people to leave the area. His eyes were also fixed on the 2 deities in the sky. He was not surprised that Wang Shui possessed the 8-9 mysteries, but Lin Ling gave him a huge surprise. 5 divine embryos could fuse together. Even though he had seen many things, this was the first time he had seen such a technique. Boom! Boom! Finally, the 2 meteors collided. Fists burned. But at the moment of collision, a terrifying, mysterious power swept out in all directions with the fist as the center. The world of Green Mountain had collapsed. The spirit palace was shaking. Such power was too terrifying. How was this still a battle between humans? This was simply a battle between gods. Endless gales swept out. Even Longnyang and the others' faces changed greatly as they frantically retreated. And within the storm, Lin Ling and Wang Shui's long hair wildly danced in the wind. Their clothes continued to be torn apart, and then their bodies were torn apart. This collision of power had already reached the power of 400,000 worlds. Even they couldn't resist it. They had never imagined that when their physical strength reached the pinnacle, such a terrifying storm would occur when their weapons collided. Lin Ling, you will definitely lose. The strongest genius in the history of the Snow Wind Academy is me. Suddenly, Wang Shui shouted angrily. Her temperament was completely different from before, and she was filled with a demonic domineering aura. I have no interest in the title of Snow Wind Academy's strongest genius, but I know that I will take the God Slayer alliance with me. Lin Ling also shouted coldly. Blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. They began to know that if they didn't leave this power vortex, they would all die. However, they didn't retreat for the time being. They were waiting for an opportunity. Looking from afar, a vortex with a radius of 10 million miles appeared under their feet and slowly rose into the sky. If it engulfed them, even their masters would be strangled to death by the power. Because this was the purest form of physical strength, a vortex storm formed from it. Let's go. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling found the best opportunity. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he paid the price of being seriously injured and rushed towards the sky. Physical strength sometimes couldn't compare to realm essence. After punching out, it was very difficult to retract the power. Not to mention that this power was 200,000 worlds worth of power. Lin Ling has rushed out. Lord Ning and the others also stared at the scene in the sky and naturally guessed the two's actions. Retreat. Next, Wang Shui also shouted angrily. Her body was like a spinning top as she rushed into the sky. The two figures rushed into the sky at the speed of 20 worlds, as if they were going to break through the sky. Oh no. Suddenly, Wang Shui, who was at the back, had a change in expression. Because the power of the huge storm under his feet had wrapped around his feet. It felt as if countless people were grabbing his feet and trying to pull him into the terrifying power. And if he was sucked into the ferocious power, even he would not be able to escape death. Because that power was not only his, it also contained Lin Ling's power. When the two powers collided, they didn't cancel each other out. Instead, they merged and formed the ferocious storm under his feet. Pa! But at this moment, an arm suddenly appeared and grabbed his hand. Then, it brought him towards the sky. This made Wang Shui look up. His eyes were filled with shock. Because this was Lin Ling. He clearly saw that Lin Ling was more seriously injured than him. However, Lin Ling didn't leave him behind. Instead, he saved him in the most urgent situation. Good. In the distance, Lord Ning and the others also looked at this scene and laughed loudly. Lin Ling's body was covered in blood. He gritted his teeth and carried Wang Shui higher and higher. Then, he leaped horizontally, avoiding the storm below and rushed into the sky. However, just when Lin Ling and Wang Shui were safe, Wang Shui suddenly looked at Lin Ling ferociously. His eyes were filled with madness. I haven't lost yet. The Wind Snow Academy will not fall so drastically in my hands. After he finished speaking, his right fist appeared behind him. Demonic aura surged, causing his fist to grow to 5 meters in size. He smashed it towards Lin Ling. This punch had the power of 200,000 worlds. It wasn't difficult to destroy 10,000 worlds. And such a turn of events shocked Lord Ning and the others. They never expected Wang Shui to make such a choice. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. Unfortunately, he was too close to Wang Shui and couldn't react in time. Boom! The huge fist smashed into Lin Ling's body, shattering all the bones in his body. Then, the fist filled with demonic aura suddenly shrunk and turned into a claw, piercing through Lin Ling's chest. Crash! Blood gushed out from Lin Ling's body. Lin Ling's eyes were cold. He knew that if he didn't do anything, he would definitely die here. Soul Force was activated. Step of Wisdom. The mysterious power didn't seem to have any offensive power. It enveloped Wang Shui, but it sealed half of his power. Get lost. After sealing Wang Shui's power, Lin Ling's fist also hit Wang Shui with earth-shattering force. The latter spat out a mouthful of blood. His bones were also shattered, and he smashed into the ground like a cannonball. Rumble. The ground also cracked like a plate, and soil soared into the sky. Chapter 41-25. Release him. Sigh. The endless green hills had already turned into ruins. Only when the storm of energy created by the fusion of Lin Ling and Wang Shui disappeared into the sky did Lord Ning let out a soft sigh. After this final confrontation, he already knew who had won and who had lost. After all, if Lin Ling had not saved Wang Shui would have died long ago. But no one would have thought that Wang Shui would be saved by Lin Ling and he would actually launch a sneak attack on Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you've won. Lord Ning said after a moment. He stared at Lin Ling with eyes full of shock because he realized that he had underestimated Lin Ling. The method that Lin Ling had used before seemed to be the God Stares. One must know that this was a power that only gods possessed. And Lin Ling had such a method but he had not used it. If not for the fact that he was close to death, Lin Ling would probably still have hidden it. This showed that from the beginning, Lin Ling could easily defeat Wang Shui. Unless Wang Shui did not suppress his strength and unleashed his full strength, then there was still a chance for him to win. It can't be considered a win. It should be a draw. After all, Wang Shui suppressed his strength. Otherwise, I might not have been able to defeat him. In the sky, Lin Ling said lightly. No matter what, we all agree that you've won. Moreover, you saved Wang Shui. Here, I'll thank you on his behalf. Also, I hope that you won't mind Wang Shui's sneak attack from before. Lord Ning apologized on Wang Shui's behalf. At this point, he was obviously embarrassed to not let Wang Shui go. Because in these 3 battles, Lin Ling had won beautifully and he had given Lord Ning enough face. He was bedeviled before. He didn't have eyes for me, but for one of his opponents in Snow Wind Academy. Therefore, I won't mind. Lin Ling shook his head. Naturally, he had seen through something. The 8-9 demonic art was after all not the 8-9 mysterious art. Cultivators would have some side effects. Turning into a demon was probably one of the side effects. That's right, he was possessed by the devil before. It said that when one cultivates the 8-9 demonic arts to the end, one's temperament will change even more. However, this kind of physical strength is too attractive. Not many people can resist that temptation. Back then, after Wang Shui was defeated, he gave up on himself. Later on, he accidentally obtained this divine art and rose to prominence. He must have his own enemies. Lord Ning explained. That enemy should be the one who humiliated him. It wasn't hard for Lin Ling to guess what was going on. Because Wang Shui was so strong, it was impossible for him not to return to the Snow Wind Academy. Moreover, the Snow Wind Academy did not have his name. This meant that after Wang Shui left the Snow Wind Academy, he stopped the Snow Wind Academy from mentioning his name. Perhaps to him, this was a humiliation. Wang Shui, he should have fainted. I'll have to trouble Lord Ning to tell him after he wakes up that the Snow Wind Academy is also waiting for him to come back. He will definitely be able to wash away the shame of that year with his own hands. Lin Ling said again, which made Lord Ning nod his head. After that, Lin Ling walked down from the sky. Lord Ning understood and waved his hand. The members of the God Slayer Alliance were all released. They all looked at Lin Ling with gratitude. Lin Ling, are you really not going to consider it? After Lord Ning handed over the person, he looked at Lin Ling with a complicated expression. Now, he obviously felt the pain of letting go of Lin Ling. However, if he didn't let go of Lin Ling, he wouldn't be able to live with himself. After all, he owed Lin Ling a favor. I'll consider it. But for now, I probably won't join the Spirit Nation. Lin Ling smiled and said. All right, I'll wait for you. Lord Ning nodded. He knew Lin Ling's temperament. He was both good and evil and not pedantic. Not joining the Spirit Nation today didn't mean that he wouldn't join in the future. Farewell. Then, Lin Ling didn't say much. He led Lu Chen and the others into the distance. Rumble. Above the shattered sky, the ice door slowly opened. However, just as it opened, a large number of white-clothed Ling Kingdom people appeared outside the door. When the leader, Long Ling, saw Lin Ling, his face was filled with disbelief. Beside her, the leader of the 9 states' 10 evils was the same. Catch him. Then, Long Ling shouted angrily. Let them go. However, Lord Ning spoke in a majestic voice. My lord, this. Long Ling and the others were undoubtedly shocked. At least in the Spirit Palace, you are not allowed to attack him. Lord Ning thought for a moment. He seemed to know Long Ling and the others' duties, so he said lightly. Yes, my lord. Even though Long Ling and the others were unwilling, they didn't dare to disobey Lord Ning. Lin Ling wasn't from the Spirit Nation at the moment, but he had appeared in the Spirit Nation. This had obviously violated the Spirit Nation's taboo. Therefore, Lord Ning could only order them not to attack him in the Spirit Palace. However, he didn't care about other places. After all, he couldn't protect Lin Ling forever. Moreover, he believed that with Lin Ling's arrogance, he wouldn't like to be protected forever. Thank you, Lord Ning. Lin Ling nodded and led the others out of the ice door. Outside, Long Ling and the others had complicated expressions. This was because they also saw that Lin Ling had taken away the God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Clan. Most importantly, the Spirit Nation didn't object. In the end, they could only watch as Lin Ling and the others walked further and further away. Long Ling, come in. Everyone else, go back to your positions. Yes. Behind the ice door, Lord Ning's voice drifted over. After Long Ling bowed, she entered the ice door. Behind the ice door, the people looked at Lord Long with complicated expressions and remained silent. However, very quickly, someone finally spoke. Lord Long, are we really letting him go? In time, he might become a formidable opponent of the Spirit Nation. Everyone had witnessed the previous great battle. The strength that Lin Ling had displayed was unexpected. With the fusion of the 5 divine embryos, he was almost invincible. Moreover, compared to the side effects, Lin Ling's talent fusion was even weaker than the 8-9 demonic arts. If such a rising star was allowed to grow, no one would be able to control him. How could I not know? Hearing this, Lord Ning smiled bitterly. Thinking of the previous intense battle, he also felt that his horizons had been broadened. It's a pity that this child can only be attacked mentally. You can't use force. If you use force, he would rather die than live in dishonor. Then, the Spirit Nation won't be able to win his heart. Lord Ning said. If we can't win him, then why not? A ruthless person said with cold eyes. If we can't win him, then we'll destroy him. I want to as well. Unfortunately, I can't do it. From the Spirit Nation's overall situation, he deserves to be killed. However, from a personal point of view, I can't bear to see him die. Moreover, I have a feeling that if His Majesty knew about Lin Ling, he would be tempted to cherish his talent. Lord Ning turned to the crowd and said, therefore, Lin Ling's matter can't be rushed. The Spirit Nation still has a chance. Sigh. Chapter 41-26. Seriously injured. After he finished speaking, he looked at the mess before him and shook his head. Never had he imagined that he would be checkmated by Lin Ling. 2 people. King Dexiong and Wang Shui were both saved by Lin Ling. Moreover, these 2 people were Minister Ning's people. Didn't he, Minister Ning, owe Lin Ling a favor? Especially the matter of Wang Shui. Lin Ling had almost died because of Wang Shui, but he didn't care about it afterwards. This made Lord Ning feel guilty. This kid knows when to yield and when to stand tall. He's really amazing. In the future, he'll definitely become a god. Alright, let's forget about this matter. In the end, Lord Ning concluded. Everyone nodded one after another. There was no one who was unconvinced. It's alright. The governor of East City heaved a sigh of relief. He was happy for Lin Ling because he knew that if the gods of the Spirit Nation really wanted to kill Lin Ling's current strength was not something he could stop. Fortunately, Lin Ling did things flawlessly and the Spirit Nation had nothing to say. My lord, are we just going to let Lin Ling go back like this? In the end, Lin Ling and the others are still challengers. At this moment, the dragon spirit suddenly said. The matters of the Spirit Palace are under the jurisdiction of the Spirit Palace. Anything outside of the Spirit Palace is your responsibility. It has nothing to do with me. Lord Ning looked at Dragon Spirit and said. Dragon Spirit understood what Lord Ning meant. In the Spirit Palace, she had to give Lord Ning face and not touch Lin Ling. But outside the Spirit Palace, Lord Ning would not follow Lin Ling step by step and protect him. Dragon Spirit would decide what to do on her own. Should they chase after him or let him go? This was also the responsibility of the Dragon Spirit, and it was up to her to decide. Long Ling's eyes immediately flashed with a cold light. In her heart, she naturally wouldn't let Lin Ling leave. Especially after hearing Lord Ning's words, she knew that if Lin Ling were to join the Spirit Nation, he would be her #1 competitor. And this was not what she wanted to see. Furthermore, Lin Ling was the first person in the history of the Spirit Kingdom to leave safely. She could not allow this glory to continue. At this moment, Lin Ling was leading the group down the corridor. Lin Ling's expression was calm, but his eyes continued to flicker. Thinking about what happened before, he secretly felt lucky. Lin Ling, thank you. Lu Qin said gratefully to Lin Ling, Senior Lu Qin, you and I are no longer strangers, so there's no need to thank me. Lin Ling immediately turned his head and smiled. But Lu Qin thought about how Lin Ling had risked his life to win 2 of the 9 prefecture's 10 evils. He still felt bad about it. Let me ask you something. If I, Lin Ling, encountered such a situation, what would Senior Lu Qin do? Lin Ling suddenly asked. Lu Qin was stunned. His first thought was to lead the entire God Slayer alliance to save Lin Ling. Isn't that right? If something happens to me, you will definitely save me. If something happens to you, I, Lin Ling, will not stand idly by. Seeing Lu Qin in a daze, Lin Ling shrugged his shoulders. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Lu Qin finally burst into laughter. The God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Clan behind him also laughed. They knew that they should not say thank you anymore. If they did, they would be treating Lin Ling as an outsider. However, after laughing, Lu Qin was deeply moved. The kid from back then had grown to such a level. He was not much weaker than him and could stand alone in the sky. This was something he had never expected. This kid's growth was too fast. Puff. However, just as everyone was rejoicing, Lin Ling's face suddenly turned pale. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Crack. 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 The sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. This had undoubtedly frightened everyone. Even Longyang's pupils constricted. I'm seriously injured. Leave this place immediately. On the contrary, Lin Ling was not surprised. Previously, he had forcefully refined the blue spiritual flower, causing a terrifying force to wreak havoc in his body. After that, his 3 great talents had increased crazily. This had exceeded Lin Ling's limit. Coupled with the desperate battle with Wang Shui, this had caused his injuries to worsen. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Lu Qin and the rest looked grave. Without saying anything else, Lu Qin carried Lin Ling on his back and immediately ran down the corridor. At the entrance of the Spirit Palace, a large number of people in white were still guarding. However, they did not stop Lin Ling and the rest. Instead, they made way for them. However, when they saw that Lin Ling was injured, a complicated look appeared in their eyes. Soon, Lin Ling and the rest rushed out of the Spirit Light City. Not good. We received an order from the Spirit Nation. We can only enter the Spirit Light City, but not leave. At this time, the people in white who had been assimilated by Lin Ling immediately said. It seems that someone wants to kill us. Lu Qin immediately guessed something. You guys take Lin Ling and leave. I'll stop them. Then, Lu Qin gave the order. He looked at Longyang and the rest. Longyang and Little South nodded. Little South even whispered, Senior Lin Ling said that he would need us. So this is the time. There are too many of us and will become a thorn in their side. On the other hand, if you guys scatter and leave, the Spirit Nation will not be able to find you in a short period of time until Lin Ling recovers. Lu Qin said again. My lord, all the cultivators outside the Spirit Light City have entered. I guess that the Spirit Nation is using treasures to attract them. If they want to obtain the treasures, they must prove their loyalty. I'm afraid that Lord Lin Ling's head is the proof. One of the people in white said again as he continued to collect the orders from the Spirit Nation. Hearing this, Lu Qin thought for a moment and nodded, things are a little troublesome. Not only are there foreign cultivators entering, there are also the Spirit Nation and the 9 States' 10 evils. If we fight them head-on, we won't be able to win. However, everything will have to wait until Lin Ling recovers. You guys must protect Lin Ling's life. But if this place doesn't open, we won't be able to get out. Therefore, we won't be able to hold on for long. Longyang suddenly thought of something and immediately analyzed. You don't have to worry about this. I guess that as long as we can hold on for a while, the 4 great gods will come. At that time, the Spirit Nation will definitely leave. Although the Spirit Nation is not afraid of the 4 great gods, they obviously don't want to fight them head-on so soon. Yes. After being captured for such a long time, Lu Chen naturally knew the Spirit Nation's intentions. To put it bluntly, this was the awakening of the world will. All right. Yes. Without any worries, Longyang nodded and left with Little South with Lin Ling. Little ones, we are indebted to Lin Ling. Today, it's time to repay him. We must hold on until Lin Ling recovers. Yes. Next, Lu Chen looked at the crowd and said. That's for sure. If it wasn't for the Spirit Nation, who would the God Slayer Alliance be afraid of? It's too humiliating to be captured. However, how can ordinary soldiers bully the God Slayer Alliance? Dream on. Yes. Senior Lu Chen, now that the leader of the Serpent Clan is dead, we will follow you. We will do whatever you say. Yes. Chapter 41-27. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Longyang's killing intent. Let's go. Then, Lu Chen laughed loudly and led the countless experts into the distance. From afar, there were about 10 to 20,000 people, and there were many experts. In fact, Long Ling would not allow Lin Ling to leave. After leaving Lord Ning, she would be responsible for the defense of the entire Spirit Light City. Her first order would naturally be to kill Lin Ling. Moreover, he did not hesitate to use a large number of sapphire spirit flowers as the price. Of course, these sapphire spiritual flowers originally belonged to these people. As long as they joined the Spirit Nation, they would be able to obtain them. Even if they did not join the Spirit Nation, as long as they killed a member of the God Slayer Alliance, they would also be able to obtain a reward. This was because, in the eyes of the Spirit Nation, the God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Tribe were traitors. Naturally, the Spirit Nation would kill all traitors. Moreover, the Spirit Nation did not force those who were hesitating to join the Spirit Nation. Instead, they gave them enough time to consider and even offered some treasures as a lure. Because they knew that a true expert wouldn't be able to win their hearts by force. Sister Long, look in the distance. Many people are starting to appear. As for Longyang and Little South, they flew across the wasteland and sensed the changes in the distance. What a bunch of trash. All they think about is reaching the heavens in a single bound. Longyang said sarcastically. She naturally knew that those people came from the final world and 9 prefectures. They thought that this was the land of the divine treasures, so they flocked over. Therefore, after the Spirit Nation had paid a certain amount of treasures, they had forgotten their roots and were willing to do anything. According to what we've seen on our way here, there aren't many strong cultivators outside of Spirit Light City. However, we can't guarantee that there won't be more strong cultivators after this. Therefore, for safety's sake, we should try our best to avoid conflict with others and hide Lin Ling. Longyang looked at Little South and said. Then, she looked at Lin Ling with a complicated expression. At this moment, Lin Ling's face was pale, and his breathing seemed to have stopped. Moreover, rumbling sounds came from his body from time to time. This let her know that this resolute man was most likely seriously injured this time. She knew that Lin Ling had fought countless battles and was riddled with injuries, but this was the first time she had seen Lin Ling unconscious because of injuries. Fighting against the leader of the 9 states' most vicious 10, was this Lin Ling's strongest ability? This level of strength was truly terrifying. Although that battle ended in a draw, it did not hinder the pride of that battle. It's no wonder that every time I see him, his strength would increase tremendously. So that's how he got his strength. He's been through life and death battles time and time again. Longyang whispered as she walked with Little South. Yeah, the battle just now was too intense. Little South nodded and said with admiration, there must be countless scars on his body. Scars are also a symbol of a martial artist. It represents how many ups and downs he has gone through. Longyang smiled. Her gaze suddenly fell on a barren wall in the distance. There was an imperceptible cave there. Then, she led Lin Ling into the cave. What we need now is time. Time for Lin Ling to recover, so it's better to hide. The God Slayer Alliance has attracted the attention of all the experts. This can also buy some time for Lin Ling. Longyang said after entering the cave. Little South began to set up a barrier to hide the cave. She also knew that this concealment might only be temporary, but it was enough. The two of them quickly sat down cross-legged in the cave. They looked at Lin Ling, who was lying on the ground, and their gazes continued to flicker. Longyang, in particular, had the most complicated expression on her face. Her beautiful eyes stared at Lin Ling's chiseled face. For a moment, a murderous intent rose in her heart. She thought of the man who had taken away her most precious thing in the spirit province. She thought of how that man had brutally destroyed her that night, giving her the greatest shame in her life. And now, she had the best opportunity to kill Lin Ling. In fact, if she moved a finger, Lin Ling would die. All kinds of thoughts rose in her heart, but more of them were murderous intents. Beside her, Little South's body suddenly trembled. She had sensed Longyang's murderous intent. She was in disbelief. Sister Long wanted to kill Lin Ling? She wanted to stop her, but Longyang said calmly, "Don't worry, I won't kill him." However, after saying this, Longyang continued to stare at Lin Ling. The murderous intent in her eyes did not diminish. Little South was shocked. She was still on guard against Longyang because that was her promise to Lin Ling. Fortunately, although Longyang's murderous intent was very strong, she had controlled it well and did not attack Lin Ling. How ironic. What a helpless life. A moment later, Longyang suddenly smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, but it also carried a sense of exasperation and helplessness. The enemy of my life is right in front of me, but I can't kill him. She shook her head. When she thought of how this man had domineeringly fought the spirit country and saved 2 of the 9 states' 10 perils, as well as the promise he had made to them, she could not do it. Forget it, if I really want to kill you, I won't do it while you're heavily injured. I'll kill you fair and square and defeat you. Finally, Longyang seemed to have made a decision. The murderous intent in her eyes finally disappeared. When Little South saw this, she finally sighed. However, she felt as if this was the first time she had met Longyang. Longyang had given her the impression that she was very easy to talk to. However, she never thought that this woman would hide her intentions so deeply and that her ambitions would be so great. Longyang did not seem to know what Little South was thinking. She left after saying that, "Little South, keep an eye on him. I'll go take a look nearby." "All right." Little South nodded. After Longyang left, she finally felt a sense of relief. It was as if the person whom she had interacted with was not Longyang but someone she did not know. "Senior Lin Ling, hurry up and recover." Little South then gently wiped the sweat off Lin Ling's face. She noticed that Lin Ling's brows were furrowed and relaxed at times. She immediately knew that this man must be enduring inhumane torture. However, this man had continued to chat cheerfully with everyone despite such pain. He did not look like he was seriously injured at all. Clearly, he had endured all the pain alone. Little South was very clear about this and was even more curious about Lin Ling now. At this moment, Lin Ling's body was indeed in a state of chaos. The power from the indigo spirit flower was wreaking havoc on Lin Ling's body. This was because Lin Ling had refined too many indigo spirit flowers at once. That tremendous power was not something that Lin Ling could withstand at the moment. Now, Lin Ling could not do anything at all. He could only watch helplessly as the indigo spirit flowers wreaked havoc on his body. As a result, the side effects of his forceful fusion of the dragon god's innate talent and the primal chaos innate talent did not disappear for a long time. Furthermore, it was difficult for him to recover from the serious injuries that Wang Shui had inflicted on him. The only thing he could rely on now was the primal chaos divine technique. Chapter 41-28. A mysterious voice. If the refining speed of this technique was not as fast as the destruction, then Lin Ling would be completely destroyed in the end and die in this era. Of course, if the speed of refinement exceeded the speed of destruction, then not only would Lin Ling not die, he would also gain unimaginable benefits. Life and death, at this moment. As for Lin Ling, once the pain reached its limit, it would become numb. It was as if he had lost control of his body. He could not feel anything. Therefore, at this moment, he felt as if he was dreaming. He's back. After an unknown amount of time, an aged voice suddenly resounded in Lin Ling's soul. This left Lin Ling a bit confused. His soul quietly awoke and he discovered that he was in a vast expanse of white clouds. But, as he was in these clouds, his soul actually felt extremely comfortable. Where is this? Lin Ling frowned slightly as his mind went blank. However, he soon recalled that in order to save the God-slaying alliance, he had battled with Lord Ning and had been severely injured. But why did he suddenly appear here? Lin Ling's mind was in a daze, but the clouds around him made him feel very comfortable, so he quietly stood in the clouds, enjoying the peace and tranquility. What a strange place. Lin Ling thought to himself. The boundless clouds seemed to have a spirit. When they passed by Lin Ling's body, it was as if a gentle hand was caressing him. Oh! Lin Ling let out a carefree moan. The clouds and mist in the distance were surging and rolling. Under the illumination of the sun, a resplendent golden color could be seen in front of him. When this vastness entered his eyes, Lin Ling was also mesmerized by it. Lin Ling could be considered to have traveled extensively in his life and had seen countless wonders. However, the wonder in front of him made him feel as if he could swallow mountains and rivers. Old friend, you're back. At this moment, an ancient and benevolent voice suddenly drifted out from the endless sea of clouds. Who? Lin Ling was startled. He looked around, but there was only endless fog in front of him. He couldn't see anyone. Who are you? Lin Ling frowned. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that the voice was very familiar, as if he had heard it before. But he was also sure that he had never seen that mysterious man before. However, the rolling sea of clouds was still rolling, but the sound had disappeared. The surroundings were incomparably quiet. With no other choice, Lin Ling could only follow the surging sea of clouds. Stubbornness arose in his heart, and he especially wanted to know who was talking to him. Rumble. As he leaped through the sea of clouds, the vast ancient clouds were stirred up by him. From afar, the scene was incomparably spectacular. Lin Ling sprinted all the way, but the scenery in front of him didn't change at all. It was still a sea of clouds, and this sea of clouds seemed to have no end. As for Lin Ling, it was as if he didn't know what fatigue was, and he continued to chase forward. He didn't know how long this chase lasted. It was as if countless years had passed, but it also felt like a short moment. Old friend, when it's time to return, you'll return. It's still early now, and this is the chaos of the beginning of the world. There's no end. You should go back. Finally, the ancient voice sounded again, and Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. He frowned and shouted, "Who are you? You should go back." However, in the rolling sea of clouds, endless echoes drifted out. Then, Lin Ling felt that the world was spinning, as if he had fallen from the sea of clouds into the mortal world. Oh! After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling suddenly sat up, and then his eyes were a little blank. This place was no longer in the sea of clouds, but in a cave. The cave was very clean and tidy, but other than him, there was no one else to be seen. Where is this? Lin Ling's eyebrows furrowed slightly as he continuously tried to recall. Gradually, his memories before he fainted also quietly recovered. He remembered that he was seriously injured, and then Senior Lu Chen took him, Lin Ling, and left. Could it be that Senior Lu Chen left him, Lin Ling, in this cave? What about Senior Lu Chen and the rest? Also, what was with the sea of clouds just now? Was it a dream? Lin Ling was still a little confused, but he had an intuition that what happened just now wasn't a dream. Instead, it was as if his soul had gone to a mysterious place in the void, and there was someone he knew in that place. However, who was that person? That's right, he said that it was still early to return. What did that mean? Lin Ling slapped his forehead, but he had no clue. Then, he sensed his whole body and was immediately surprised to find that not only had his body recovered, but his strength had also greatly improved. He remembered that before he fainted, he couldn't do anything. The only thing he could do was to let the Chaos Divine Formula refine the indigo spiritual flower. His life or death would depend on the Chaos Divine Formula. To his surprise, the Chaos Divine Formula did not let him down, as it had refined the chaotic force in his body. Everything has returned to normal. Could it be that something happened while I was sleeping? Lin Ling was overjoyed. He did not expect to overcome another great tribulation, and he did it without knowing it. It seemed like Lin Ling was not destined to die yet. My cultivation has improved. Following this, Lin Ling sensed the realm essence in his body and discovered that among his 6 dantians, his first dantian had successfully achieved the 3rd layer martial god realm. The other 5 dantians were still in the 2nd layer martial god realm. Of course, the most important thing was that Lin Ling discovered that his devil jellyfish body had also entered the ranks of the acquired divine fetus. It seemed like it was the effect of the remaining force of the indigo spiritual flower. That being said, the indigo spiritual flower was indeed terrifying. Even though it was able to improve one's talent, its side effects were quite strong too. It seemed like he would have to refine it carefully next time. Currently, Lin Ling still had quite a number of indigo spiritual flowers, which were enough to improve his talents to the next level. However, after experiencing the Great Tribulation where he was forced to explode, Lin Ling did not dare to act recklessly for the time being. Currently, my 6 dantians have all achieved the godly embryo realm. My flesh's strength has reached 150,000 worlds worth of force. Even without the innate talent, it's still 100,000 worlds worth of force, and my speed is 10,000 worlds worth of speed. Lin Ling was inexplicably excited. Only when he sensed his strength did he realize how much he had improved this time. He clearly knew that if it weren't for the battle of life and death with Wang Shui, even if he managed to achieve a breakthrough in the future, his strength would not have improved so significantly. It was obvious that the outcome of the battle with Wang Shui had exceeded Lin Ling's expectations. That being said, Lin Ling did not have much time to consider. He had no choice but to risk his life. 3rd layer martial god realm. Next, Lin Ling became inexplicably excited. His hands began to form complicated seals to activate the god's heritage treasure. Rumble. The cave shuddered slightly, causing the air to ripple. Following this, cracks began to appear in front of Lin Ling, revealing the treasure hidden in the rift. Where's the giant ghost? Chapter 41-29. Activate the god's legacy treasure. Because the giant ghost had been by his side the last time he opened the treasure trove, Lin Ling suddenly felt that something was missing when the giant ghost wasn't with him this time. Hee, you're awake. Just as Lin Ling thought of the giant ghost, a figure floated in from outside the cave. It was about the size of a palm. It was the giant ghost. Giant ghost. Lin Ling shouted excitedly. You're really going all out. You actually swallowed so many sapphire spiritual flowers at once. Moreover, after your major talents were upgraded, you immediately went all out. At that time, your body had not adapted to that kind of power. Moreover, you fought with Wang Shui head-on. You're lucky to be alive now. The giant ghost lightly said. Compared to when they first met, it was clear that the giant ghost was less ferocious and more human. At that time, I had no other choice. Lin Ling shrugged helplessly. If he fought with his life on the line, the spirit nation might not let him go. However, it's very strange. When you were unconscious, a mysterious power was born in your body and continued to refine the blue spiritual flower. Moreover, it managed the chaotic realm essence in your body. Looking at its might, it seems to be extremely extraordinary, said the giant ghost. Lin Ling immediately nodded. He knew that what the giant ghost was talking about was the primal chaos divine formula. By the way, Longyang, where are Lu Chen and the others? Lin Ling did not explain the primal chaos divine formula because it was his biggest secret. This void is currently in chaos because you have been sleeping for 3 years. Over the past 3 years, the Spirit Nation has issued a warrant for your arrest in this void. Furthermore, foreign martial artists are also searching for you, as well as the God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Clan. The giant ghost said, there were a few times when you were almost in danger. It was Longyang and Little South who lured them away. No wonder you've been outside all this time. You're probably trying to prevent others from approaching. Lin Ling also guessed what was going on and was secretly grateful to the giant ghost. He knew that the giant ghost was definitely waiting outside the cave. After all, he was at his weakest when he was asleep, and anyone could kill him. The Spirit Nation is looking for me? Then, Lin Ling frowned and thought of the 10 of the 9 states. He immediately guessed that Lu Chen alone would not be able to stop the 10 of the 9 states. The God Slayer Alliance suffered heavy casualties as well. Many experts from the final world had entered this realm. The Spirit Nation had treated the God Slayer Alliance as a traitor and had used treasures as bait to annihilate the God Slayer Alliance and the Serpent Clan. The giant ghost seemed to have guessed Lin Ling's worries. It said, currently, I'm not too sure where the God Slayer Alliance has fled to. During the first year, I could roughly guess their location, but it's too chaotic now. The Spirit Nation is so powerful. Aren't they afraid of the 4 gods? Hearing this, Lin Ling's expression turned serious. Of course, they are afraid of the 4 great gods right now. However, among those who have entered this place, who knows that the will of the world is behind the Spirit Nation? The giant ghost suddenly asked. That's true. Lin Ling nodded. If the 4 great gods had announced that the will of the world was behind the Spirit Nation, no one would have dared to be so arrogant. He knew that in the eyes of others, the Spirit Nation was the leader of the 9 states' 10 evils. Naturally, they would not miss out on a reward from the Spirit Nation. The Spirit Nation's foundation is not weak. I've heard from the passers-by that the sapphire spiritual flower that you had plundered previously was only a small treasure of the Spirit Nation. It's not even worth mentioning to the entire Spirit Nation. Moreover, the Spirit Nation has also issued a reward. Whoever catches you will have all the sapphire spiritual flowers in your possession. Think about it, a spiritual flower that can increase one's talent. The giant ghost recounted everything that it had seen in the past 3 years. Based on what you've said, the matter here should have attracted the attention of the gods. Lin Ling listened quietly and then said, that's right. Through the giant ghost's words, he knew that only the 4 great gods could open this void. Otherwise, whether it was him or the God Slayer Alliance, they would be trapped like beasts. It won't be long before the gods arrive. The giant ghost immediately nodded. The Spirit Nation is really terrifying. Lin Ling was relieved when he heard this. Then, he said in shock. A sealed void. Unless the gods intervened, no one would be able to open it. It was just like the Phoenix Emperor Spring in the past. No matter what, it's great that you've awakened. At least you won't be at the mercy of others. Your strength has increased again. Gosh, your cultivation speed is too fast. The giant ghost stared at Lin Ling and exclaimed in disbelief. It sensed that Lin Ling had reached the level 3 martial god realm. However, it remembered that Lin Ling had only reached the level 2 martial god realm 4 years ago. Even in the era of the gods, no one had ever advanced to the martial god realm in 4 years. I've risked my life. How could I not improve my cultivation level? Lin Ling rolled his eyes and said. Following this, he stared at the inherited treasure in front of him. The giant ghost did the same too. This was because they all knew that even though there weren't many treasures that appeared, each one of them was incomparably precious. Currently, Lin Ling had reached the last level of the early stage martial god realm. They could not help but wonder what kind of treasures would appear. There are still 3 of them. Lin Ling's eyes flickered as he sensed the treasures. It seems like there will only be more treasures after you reach the early stage martial god realm. Let's see what they are. The giant ghost wore a curious look. Godly stones, 50 of them this time. Lin Ling did not hesitate. He waved his hands and summoned a large number of godly stones. The giant ghost revealed a rare smile. However, its smile was slightly ferocious. 50 godly stones, more than the previous 2 times. Besides, Lin Ling still had more godly stones than the previous 2 times. How many godly stones do you have now? The giant ghost asked. A total of 80 pieces. Lin Ling quickly checked as well. That's good. Since you can even refine the blue spiritual flower, these godly stones will not be able to withstand your refinement. Previously, I was worried that you could not withstand the divine energy of the godly stones. However, it seems like you can refine the godly stones quickly and increase your divine energy. By the way, your physical strength has also increased greatly. This will greatly increase your endurance. The giant ghost said. He knew that it would not be long before Lin Ling's strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Currently, I have 16 strands of divine energy. If I refine all the godly stones, I wonder how many strands of divine energy I will have. Upon hearing this, Lin Ling began to look forward to it. Naturally, he was well aware of the strength of divine energy. If he could raise the level of divine energy, his strength would increase by another 30%. Let's check out the rest. After that, Lin Ling took out the second treasure. As expected, the second treasure was the divine essence. There were 3 of them and they were used to increase Lin Ling's comprehension of the fire element. Chapter 4130. Translator, Exodus Tales Editor, Exodus Tales Nether World Massacre Order. As expected of the fire inheritance. Lin Ling put it away and looked at the last treasure. He knew that it was the last treasure that could save his life. A black token appeared in his hand, emitting a faint nether aura. What is this? Lin Ling was stunned. He waved the token around but did not find anything special about it. Could this be? The giant ghost, on the other hand, found it familiar. It shot towards Lin Ling and snatched the black token from Lin Ling's hand. It started to examine it. Lin Ling was speechless as he looked at the giant ghost. The giant ghost was only the size of a fist, but it was hugging a black token that was bigger than it. It looked hilarious. The giant ghost looked at the token for a while and said in shock, could this be the Netherworld Massacre Order? TSK, who is the owner of this divine inheritance? How did he get his hands on such a treasure? Is it very powerful? Lin Ling blinked and became even more curious. This is the Netherworld Massacre Order that a powerful divine inheritance has signed a contract with the Nether God. With the Netherworld Massacre Order, one can open the door to the Netherworld and summon the Nether soldiers. The giant ghost said word by word. Ah! Lin Ling's jaw dropped. The underworld had always been mysterious, and it was a place that Lin Ling had never been to. However, the underworld was incomparably powerful. Even the Thunder God had to get the approval of the god of the underworld if he wanted someone. Borrowing the Netherworld Massacre Order. That was too unbelievable. Those nether soldiers are not to be underestimated. They are immortal and can kill any martial god realm experts and bring their souls into the nether world. Therefore, this token is also known as the Nether World Massacre Order. However, your token is black. I remember that there was a Purple World Massacre Order. TSK, all the soldiers are nether riders. They can even bring the divine inheritance into the nether world. The giant ghost said. That's too powerful. Isn't this the same as King Yama's death warrant? Lin Ling was also shocked. This meant that with the token, he could summon the netherworld soldiers to help him. This third-layer martial god realm life-saving treasure is even scarier than the previous two treasures. It's most likely beyond the level of innate god weapons. Lin Ling carefully put away the token. He knew that this was the trump card that would make him invincible in the martial god realm. By the way, how many times can I use this token? Then, Lin Ling stared at the giant ghost. How many times? Of course it's only once. A command medallion represents a single contract. Don't tell me you're thinking of using it countless times. If that's the case, then you're an infernal deity. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the giant ghost was speechless. It's fine if it's only once. After all, the succession treasure can still be opened after I rank up once. There must be something inside that is on par with the Underworld World Slaughtering Badge. Lin Ling twisted his lips. Hearing this, the giant ghost rolled its eyes at Lin Ling. It was speechless at Lin Ling's greed. It then exclaimed, that being said, the owner of the succession treasure is no ordinary person. No wonder so many people are fighting for it. With this treasure, unless you're going against all the martial gods in the world, you'll be able to rank up without any trouble. Such an expensive item must have its benefits. Let's not talk about that. I'll refine the god essence pieces first. Lin Ling nodded. 3 pieces of the god essence pieces appeared in his hand. He then began to refine them. He knew that many people were trying to rob him in the outside world. Therefore, it was not a bad idea to improve his strength. Sizzle sizzle. As Lin Ling refined the god essence pieces, golden flames burst out from Lin Ling's body and set the entire cave on fire. This guy's flame of the human monarch is getting bigger and bigger. The giant ghost narrowed its eyes and then flew out of the cave. Inside the cave, Lin Ling was surrounded by golden flames. His entire body became illusory. Behind him, the celestial body of the human monarch appeared. It was as if it wanted to unify the world. The 3 pieces in Lin Ling's hand were the comprehension of the fire-based god essence pieces. At this moment, they were like fireflies. They turned into sparkling lights and sprinkled around Lin Ling's body. At this moment, all the great Tao of fire from the ancient times, the era of the gods, and the present age quietly gushed out. It was as if someone was whispering in Lin Ling's ear. Why was fire born in this void? Lin Ling's comprehension of the fire-based god essence pieces was also increasing crazily. The way of fire was the martial art that Lin Ling had been practicing since he was young. Therefore, his foundation in this area had always been very solid. In addition, what Lin Ling obtained was the essence left behind by the gods. Therefore, his comprehension was also faster. 3 flames of heaven, earth, and man, Lord Flame, Great Earth Flame, and Great Heavenly Flame. In the endless golden flames, a majestic voice drifted out. Then, the golden flames rushed from the cave to the sky as if they were going to burn everything. Great Heavenly Flame. This was also the 3rd level of Lin Ling's self-created ability. It represented the gods and his own comprehension of the way of fire. In the ancient times, the ancients had no flames. When they saw the heavenly flame, they borrowed the flame's seed to pass it down to this day. Therefore, to the people of the world, no matter how many ways there were to create a flame seed, the first flame came from the sky. The flame of the sky was the ancestor god of flames. Rumble. In the sky above the cave, countless golden flames were burning. They were like layers of clouds that stretched to the distant sky. What is that? This scene was naturally seen by some martial artists not far away. Their eyes focused, and suddenly, a feeling of worship was born. It was as if they had seen the heavenly flame, as if they had seen the King of Men. However, the mysterious scene in the sky disappeared as quickly as it appeared. When they were carefully comprehending it, the flames had completely disappeared. This also stunned many people on the spot. Then, they licked their lips. Although they didn't know what the flames were, they had a feeling that it was a kind of rare treasure. A rare treasure has appeared, and I'm actually fated to see it. It seems like it's destined. Maybe I'm the reincarnation of a god. Bullshit, do you think I'm transparent? I saw it too. What do you mean by destined? I think that treasure is mine. Damn it, do you have to fight with me? Many people were also excited about the mysterious flames. Then, they leaped forward in an attempt to try their luck. This scene seemed slow, but in fact, Lin Ling had spent a lot of time comprehending it. At this moment, Lin Ling was still sitting cross-legged in the cave. However, outside his body, flames were lingering. The golden light was dazzling, forming a King of Men Dharma idol that was majestic without being angry. Clang! Finally, Lin Ling opened his eyes. A wisp of golden flames flickered in his eyes. In a short moment, an incomparably terrifying King of Men aura exploded. However, when Lin Ling closed his eyes again, it completely disappeared. Great heavenly flame. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.